This broke, jobless guy is desperately trying to save the very orphanage that raised him. His name is Jaiu, and he just stepped into the tower, ready to do whatever it takes. Let's be honest, in this unknown place, he could run into countless beasts, and then there are these little guys, the Papua. The three beasts eat 200 pounds of rocks daily, and Jaiu has to eat 100 pounds with them. Do not be fooled by their adorable, fluffy look. Their fur is completely impenetrable with his current strength. Our boy cannot even handle a single Papua, let alone three at once. Plus, they are incredibly sensitive to the scent of their own kind's blood. If he hurts one of them, the other two will charge without a second thought, so taking them down one by one is flat out impossible. To survive, he must blend in with them, copying their every move. The reason he came to this dangerous place is to make serious cash. Becoming a returnee is definitely the fastest way to get rich. As we know, 7 years ago, a mysterious tower suddenly appeared in this world, randomly pulling people inside. Over time, only a select few ever returned, and nobody knows what they went through. That is because those survivors strictly refuse to share any details about the place. Yet every single one of them becomes incredibly highly valued in society. They wield incredible magical powers that normal citizens can only dream of, contributing heavily to global development. Put simply, once someone becomes a returnee elite, corporations will pay massive fortunes just to hire them. Being an ordinary guy, Jaiu never planned on getting involved until he learned that his childhood orphanage was shutting down, and the elderly director could only keep it afloat for 3 more years. Endless warm memories of his childhood flashed through his mind, but even if Jaiu worked 10 jobs a day, he could not earn even 1% of the operating expenses in 10,000 days. If only he could become a returnee. Right as this thought crossed his mind, his phone began buzzing with strange notifications. His initial reaction was that he had been hacked, but intense curiosity got the better of him, prompting him to open the first file. The guy on screen looked exactly like him, fighting through level after level. Juju had no memory of filming anything like that. Suddenly, a strange pulpa caught his full attention. He recalled a returnee once mentioning this exact creature by mistake. When he saw himself standing victorious at the very top, he realized this was a video of his future self conquering the tower. The opening footage showed 2 years from that day, meaning that must be the exact moment he gets pulled inside. To prepare for that fateful moment, Jaiu pushed his body daily. He also memorized all the crucial info from those future clips. With this guide, clearing the tower would be a total piece of cake. When the day finally arrived, he still was not completely sure. He could only pray the magic portal would show up. The orphanage's entire future rested on this moment. Thankfully, after an agonizing wait, the portal appeared just as shown. He stepped right through without hesitation. For difficulty, he chose hard mode. A violent wave of dizziness struck him. When he opened eyes, he was standing in a dim, cramped mineshaft. Luckily, he had seen this area in his future videos. Summoning the system interface, it only showed active viewers and current mission objectives. These viewers were actually powerful returnees inside the tower. They could watch live streams of lower floors and donate money directly, gifting the streamer trading currency. These viewers are essentially making investments because when their streamer hits higher floors, those donors receive gold coin rewards. While some might just be bored and seeking entertainment, that does not matter to Jaiu. Seeing viewers enter his stream, he bowed, saying, "Welcome to my live stream, big brother." A viewer named Love immediately donated 1 gold coin. He quickly opened the shop. Seeing how sharp he was, the viewer donated another 3 gold coins. Asking if Jaiu wanted to spend his coins right away, he replied that he needed to observe first, since he had no idea what enemies lay ahead. That smart choice instantly earned him the follower. Naturally, he thanked the viewer loudly. With 50 minutes of preparation time remaining, the viewer decided to browse other channels. First, Jaiu waved goodbye, saying, "Come back soon, big brother." He was being so accommodating because of the follow system. In this tower, each viewer can only follow a single streamer. To follow anyone else, you must unfollow your current creator, and hitting 100,000 followers unlocks a special reward. Before he knew it, his stream reached double digits. This was thanks to choosing the hardest difficulty. Beginners rarely get noticed otherwise. As prep time was ending, his chat grew lively, with viewers saying the monsters were about to come out. He already knew exactly what they meant, but played dumb, pretending to be curious. they could not spoil anything, fearing a swift ban from the administrator, Jaiu. Originally believed those returnees were intentionally hiding details, but the video proved there is a highly powerful administrator running things. The veterans had likely been threatened, explaining why no crucial secrets ever leaked. Out while he contemplated this, only seconds remained. He apologized to viewers, explaining that he might stay quiet during the upcoming fight. This polite gesture won their respect, and the big brother who first followed him returned. For the stream, the timer hit 0. Mission: eliminate all enemies. He spotted through swirling portals beside a massive boulder. They were tiny, maybe kobolds. As he hesitated, 6 incredibly cute eyes appeared. He froze there, completely speechless. Not from their charm, but because beneath those adorable looks lay deadly fangs, capable of shredding anything. His live audience did not believe he had any chance. Facing one was doable, but 3 simultaneously meant absolute death. Since they fiercely avenge any harm to their kind, isolating them was practically impossible. Jaiu understood why his viewers panicked. Although he knew the truth, he still played dumb, asking if they were dangerous. His top supporter mentioned he would browse other channels, and Jaiu doubted he would ever return. He quickly tried to recall the Papoa's movement patterns. While they were not aggressive creatures, this endless circling while ignoring him was too weird. Cautiously, he extended his foot. As a test, they refrained from attacking, but they were certainly on high alert. He wanted to avoid fighting unless absolutely forced, knowing he would likely lose anyway. It was smarter to see what they wanted, so he followed them, learning to circle the massive rock exactly as they did. Soon, he noticed his loyal follower had returned, probably curious to see why the rookie streamer was still alive. By now, Jaiu had deciphered the Papoa's true objective. They desperately wanted to feed on that radiant, glowing magic stone. At this moment, they were performing their exclusive dining ritual, and he seemed to understand their mood now. They were accepting him and would likely invite him to share that magic stone. Sure enough, they soon stopped. Then they bared those terrifying fangs, that seemingly indestructible magic stone crumbled under their sharp bites. His heart sank, but he had to join to survive, so he grabbed a rock and started chewing. Surprisingly, the rock wasn't hard at all, melting in his mouth like chocolate. He immediately felt endless energy surging through his body. Within 10 minutes, they ate the magic stone down to crumbs. Suddenly, his body began glowing with faint blue light. Everyone in chat warns him not to move until the Popua leap into the air and start playfully jumping all over him. A system window suddenly pops up right in front of him. The second floor is open, and Juju bursts out. Laughing, he chuckles about still being alive right before passing out. The Pope start making noise, trying to wake him up. A viewer in the chat wonders if clearing the trial like this even counts. Jeju wakes up to see the Popo right in his face. He jumps up in a panic, asking himself if he really just fainted. The Pope nod their heads. Jaiu asks if they were worried about him. The 3 cute little creatures smile back at him, nodding eagerly in agreement. Jeju pets and thanks them. The chat asks if he's okay and starts laughing as they watch him play with the Papua. Ju stands up to address the stream, noticing the chat is moving way too fast for him to read. That's when he glances at his view count. It has already passed 127 viewers. He completely freaks out, his screams echoing through the entire tower. Once he calms down, he tells the chat he got lucky. Without the Popa, he never would have cleared it. He realizes that, as expected, the glowing stones were monostones. While Papua eat regular rocks for food, monostones are their absolute favorite. He knows viewers won't believe him if he says he just happens to know Pua so well, so he claims he had no real plan. He tells them he just wanted to get on their good side because he thought they were going to kill him. The trial instructions said to clear all enemies, but it never specifically said he had to kill them, so he figured he'd turn them into allies. Instead, he explains that to get along with Papuas, you have to understand them first, so he just followed their lead and got lucky. He figures that even if they don't buy it, they'll just brush it off. He needs to keep acting like a total beginner, so he'll pretend he knows nothing about the rewards. Now he heads to the second floor, while chat starts spamming him to claim his rewards. Jeju pretends to be confused, so someone in chat tells him to claim them through the settings tab. Suddenly, a reward gift starts forming right in front of him. A box appears, leaving the chat completely lost. Jaiu tells everyone he's opening it now. Inside, he finds 3 completely different items. He notices these rewards are totally different from the ones in the video. Instead of swords, there are stones. Suddenly, the popo start jumping toward him. He tells them to hold on a second. Turns out, one of the items is a mana stone. Mana stones can be bought on the 10th floor market, but this is way too valuable to just hand over to the Popua. It's an expensive item worth 5,000 coins, promising his viewers something even better down the line. His chat spams questions about the remaining item info. Curious, the young climber takes a close look at a ticket, revealing a nickname change coupon. He admits he has no use for it now, tossing it into inventory before moving on. The next prize is a pouch of gold. The moment his fingers touch it, the pouch dissolves. Jaiu announces to his stream that the second floor is next, then strides past the little puppet creatures. Suddenly, they march off on their own, quickly bundling together in a frantic huddle. Jaiu yells that they are heading the wrong way, but they ignore him, confused by their sudden, bizarre behavior. The young man decides to trail behind the strange critters. They halt directly before a solid stone wall, opening their massive toothy maws. Without warning, they begin devouring the rock itself. Jaiu figures they must have caught a scent. Moments later, the creatures chirp, calling him over. He catches on immediately, dropping low and preparing to crawl in right behind the creatures. Peering inside, he notes the narrow tunnel is incredibly tight. Yet squeeze in he does, feeling absolutely no discomfort. It makes him wonder why it doesn't hurt, since the jagged stones feel like a deep tissue massage. Viewers urge him to hurry, and he intends to do just that, until a soft light radiates from his palm. He panics instantly, staring in sheer disbelief. He mutters to himself, wondering what is happening. It feels identical to the strange rush from earlier, when the creatures consumed the monster and glowed. Shaking off the dread, he resolves to press on. In truth, Jaiu already suspected this energy. On the 5th floor, players face their class selection trial, choosing their specialization. This surging force inside him was identical to a knight's power, an energy that fortifies the human body with internal aura. To test this, Jaiu squeezes his hand, easily pulverizing stone. At last, he catches up with his guides. His viewers quickly spot an object lying in the dirt, prompting Jaiu to lean in close. He notices a glinting silver necklace, guessing it must be some kind of rare equipment. The little beasts hiss as he snatches it, but the young man ignores their complaints to inspect the stats. It is an incredibly rare accessory that boosts luck and can shield him from lethal blows. Better yet, its grade is absolutely top tier. The whole stream goes wild, and even the hunter himself is stunned. Nobody can believe he recognized such a powerful artifact at first glance. In the original timeline, Jaiu relied on this specific talisman to survive the 15th floor. Amazingly, he unlocked it much sooner in this run. A generous supporter, donating 10 coins, begs him to put the gear on right away. This generous act instantly redirects the entire stream's attention. Jaiu fastens the necklace, thanks the donor, and states he is heading toward the exit portal. Approaching the shimmering blue gateway with the beasts trailing closely, he turns to ask if they intend to follow. The trio nod enthusiastically, convincing him it would be heartless to abandon them here. The chat reassures him that his newly boosted luck will keep him safe. Jaiu grins, whispering, "Here goes nothing," and finally steps straight into the portal. On the other side, he emerges quickly, shielding his eyes from a howling gale, and looks up. Ahead lies a stunning panoramic view of the tower, nestled inside a titanic coliseum. Jaiu stands transfixed, completely awestruck by the scenery. He shrugs it off and inspects the nearby wall, tracing the ancient text carved deep inside. The system translates it, warning him to remember the blood spilled by heroes. He finds it creepy, like a threat, until he spots another nearby inscription. This writing says there is both honor and disgrace in a person's struggle. He realizes how true that is. Equal effort does not guarantee equal results. He started with absolutely nothing in this brutal world, but trying still matters. Grinding is always worth a shot. Suddenly, a system window flashes before him. It warns him that the trial starts in 10 minutes, giving him a tight deadline. He has to survive for 30 minutes against waves of incoming monsters. With zero time to waste, he needs to gear up immediately. First, he opens the shop. On this insane highest difficulty setting, bad luck means facing fiery red bears, while slightly better luck will drop 2 massive sea serpents on him. A red bear radiates pure fire, so he would need heavy armor to survive. A sea serpent is lethal but useless on land. He would just dodge its tail. He prays for an easy run, but looking back at his luck, he doubts it. Knowing how the first floor went, history is bound to repeat itself. Even so, he stays positive. Surely the game won't give him an impossible task. Right on cue, the countdown hits 0, and the trial officially begins. The portal tears open, starting off small as Jaiu hopes for a sea serpent. But the rift begins expanding rapidly, pointing to a fiery red bear instead. Yet it keeps stretching, ballooning larger until it dwarfs the entire chamber. A colossal shadow falls over his face as the portal reaches a monstrous scale. Jaiu panics at this ridiculous size, absolute dread washing over him. A titanic paw steps out of the rift, revealing an impossibly massive monster. It is a colossal dragon turtle. The live chat loses its mind in shock. Jaiu hoped to avoid spending, but he still has nearly 300 coins left. He quickly purchases a one-handed axe, which materializes directly into his grip. The chat questions his sanity, but Jaiu remembers his past stream tactics. Participating in the raid on stream had previously unlocked a secret reward. As the giant beast readies for battle, Jaiu charges forward without hesitation. The monster stomps down hard, crushing him as the chat roots for his demise. But he rolls out of the smoke, having already sliced the beast's massive leg. Juju knows he cannot end this in one blow, so he plots his next move. He decides to climb its back, since his true strength remains completely unknown. Looking at the beast huffing in anger, he knows he has pissed it off. Suddenly, the creature unleashes a blinding blast of energy, which he barely dodges. He leaps to the side. If it were a red bear, he could have simply blocked it. Fortunately, he is already deciphering this massive dragon turtle's dangerous attack patterns. Slaying this giant will bring a massive reward, but the beast is growing angrier. Jaiu weaves through its massive legs, aiming directly for its vulnerable rear. He swings his axe, hacking into the flesh like a lumberjack felling a tree. The turtle shrieks, throwing a counterattack that Jaiu easily slips past. He slips out from underneath, keeping his movements unpredictable as the beast watches him. It seems to be searching for a way to trap him. Suddenly, its legs retreat. The monster completely seals its shell to begin healing its wounds. This recovery phase is exactly why slaying a dragon turtle is such a nightmare. Viewers start flooding into the stream, completely amazed. Jaiu spots the perfect moment. He leaps across the monster's spikes, grabbing onto one of them, managing to climb up by using its massive leg, most who encounter. A dragon turtle might think they are safe on its back, but the shell spikes actually explode. He needs to find its weak spot fast. The love tries to warn him about the exploding spikes, but Jaiu already spots the weak point. He readies his axe again. He cannot slice through, so he takes another heavy swing, chipping off a piece of the spike. The chat says they desperately want to know what he is thinking. Suddenly, the dragon turtle pokes its head out, glaring up at the shell in a rage. Jaiu wonders if it is trying to shake him off by slamming into the stone wall. This is his only chance. Praying for success, he strikes the spike on its back one more time, making the turtle roar in pain. Massive explosion erupts right then, shrouding the entire battlefield in thick smoke. While the chat wonders if it is over, suddenly Jaiu steps out of the smoke, and his viewers go wild, spamming that they knew he could do it all. The monster finally stops moving. Jaiu looks down at its massive body, thinking about how insane that gamble actually was. He barely pulled it off, almost getting caught in the explosion himself. Suddenly, the beast's mouth twitches and its eyes flutter open. Jaiu decides to finish the monster for good, swinging his axe. One last time, the trial is cleared, opening up the path for him to proceed to the third floor, earning a sweet hidden reward on top of it. Jaiu celebrates the victory while the stream chat goes wild with excitement. One of his pop boys jumps up and down with joy, so Jaiu asks if they want to eat the corpse tower. Beasts usually store massive mana in their flesh, making them basically a giant feast for his pets. Jaiu gives them permission to feed, leaving the chat baffled by how they even understand him, gagging whenever the pop boys open their mouths, but they are still blown away that this rookie defeated a dragon turtle, spamming accusation messages that he must be using hacks. Jaiu realizes they would never believe it was pure luck, so he casually tells them it was no big deal. He thought he could do it and just went for it. Honestly, his viewers do not tune in for direct attention. They watch because of those intense life or death struggles and how he handles them. His viewer count proves it, reaching nearly 200 viewers on just the second floor. A smile creeps onto his face as he tells the stream, let's check the rewards first. At the same time, he claims his milestone gift for hitting 100 followers. Jaiu decides to check his floor reward first. The chat immediately asks why the floor gifts keep dropping plain stones. He pulls 500 coins in a subspace backpack, he thinks. It is a solid pull, so his viewers should not feel disappointed. Mana stone looks pretty weak if you do not show its actual stats, and since you cannot even use them until after the 10th floor, he understands their complaints. He decides to switch topics before the chat keeps ranting, jumping straight to the hidden reward. The chat calls him out for being careless while staring at the rare item sitting in his hand, a heroic grade upgrade rune. Recognizing how powerful it is, Jaiu stashes it away. Suddenly, a massive headache hits him, making his head spin with dizziness. Seeing this, the chat tells him to claim his loot and head to the next floor to heal. Jaiu decides to quickly check out the next reward, bringing up a few blessing options. These blessings are passives that boost stats, and while mana helps mages research magic, it is pretty useless early on, so he makes his choice, announcing which blessing he is picking, which makes his stream chat burst out laughing. Unlike mages and knights who start strong right from the beginning, studying magic is full of mysteries and roadblocks, meaning no matter how much they study, its uses are incredibly limited early game. It is seen as a non-combat utility class meant to sit in the backline and support. Either way, this is just the beginning of the game. He remembers a guy from that video, the one who built a mana gauntlet, a genius magic engineer brawler. True warriors know just how cool those RGB lights are. Though he can craft weapons, he will never pull it off like that genius did, so he just cradles Popo in his arms with enough effort. Perhaps he can build a replica of his own. But setting that aside, he notes that the little Popo really took a liking to the dragon turtle. He begins heading out, having reached his absolute limit. Anyway, with that, he steps into the portal ahead. On the new floor, too, statues stand completely still. He claims to be feeling much better now. All his wounds are gone, though chat immediately calls him a faker. Just then, a system screen pops up. The third trial is about to begin, where the sleeping guardians will test him and he must survive the clock or be trapped forever, he thinks. The previous floors were far harder than in the video, but this third floor looks exactly the same. As he wonders about the difficulty, a sudden voice pops up. Thanking someone for a donation, the stranger says he successfully made it to the third floor. Jaiu wonders if this is really happening, and the guy looks just as confused. It had the same difficulty because this trial requires players to work with someone else. The guy reaches out his hand, and Jaiu notices his body trembling, clearly having had a rough time on the second floor. Jaiu reaches back out to say hello, and the two shake hands. The guy says he's a streamer and starts flattering him, while Jaiu wonders if he barely scraped by. The guy pulls back, and Jaiu thinks it makes sense. This is the first human he has met inside the tower. The guy admits he has no experience, and chat says that is a totally normal reaction for a newbie. He introduces himself as Yoon Seok. Jaiu introduces himself in return. Seok comments that it's a pretty unique name. Then he notices something off to Jaiu's side, asking if those creatures on his head and shoulders are called Popo. Jaiu figures his viewers must have told him. Seok says his chat is going crazy, asking why he's even there. Jaiu explains they ended up like this after the first floor, and Seok just says, "Ah, I see," until the ground suddenly begins to shake, and a statue moves directly toward them. Jaiu tells him they will have to finish this chat later. The statues slam their axes into the ground, and the timer starts counting up from 0. Jaiu realizes that if the floor's difficulty is the same, the Guardian's weakness should be 2. The Guardian statue stands guard on the third floor, where the real test begins. Let's break down how difficulty works here. Low difficulty means 1 statue, medium means 2, and high is also 2 statues. He glances to the side. If both aren't taken down at the exact same time, the fallen one will just revive. Suddenly, the Guardian's eyes glow bright red, and the live chat warns that countless players get wiped out here. The Guardian swings its giant weapon, slamming it into the ground and triggering a massive explosion of dust. Seek wonders what crazy power this is and quickly checks to see if Jaiu is close, only to find him already charging at the Guardians. One shifts its heavy shield, slamming it down hard against the hero. Seok screams Jaiu's name in pure panic, but as the Guardian lifts its head, the stone underneath lies completely shattered. Jeju. Slips right behind its back, leaps high, and channels mana straight into his limbs. He drives his weapon deep into the guardian's leg, causing the giant to collapse, crushing its own stone hand in the process. But the second guardian catches it. Jaiu knows there is no time to waste. Since the first statue will revive if he stands around waiting, he cannot allow that, so he lunges forward at full speed, aiming a strike directly at the monster's leg. The stone begins to crack, prompting him to unleash one final blow. The stone completely shatters from his relentless combo, as both statues crash down, ending up tangled together on the floor. A thick cloud of dust billows upward, leaving only a single pillar standing in the ruins. Jaiu scans the area, then climbs down from the Titan's head. Seek rushes over, desperately demanding to know who he truly is, but the young warrior just laughs it off. Suddenly, one guardian twitches. Juju instantly senses extreme danger, his eyes flashing red, and he screams at his ally to duck. A projectile flies straight toward Seo, catching him totally off guard. Jeju barks at him to stay down as a spear thrusts directly toward them, but they manage to dodge just in time. Both look back and see the guardian standing back up, its eyes still glow crimson. Jaiu never expected a spear throw, suddenly realizing that merely knocking them down won't work. They must destroy them once and for all. As the smoke clears, the stream chat goes wild, praising his incredible skills. Jaiu charges forward once more, leaping directly at the beast, confronting its massive shield head-on. He readies his axe, drops into a sprint, and bursts forward at full speed, swinging his weapon right at the stone giant. The blow lands, slicing it down the middle. The monster collapses instantly, and Jaiu lands right on its fallen body. Suddenly, the other statue lunges, grabbing that stone chunk as Jaiu leaps away. With absolutely no room to dodge, he quickly weighs his options. There is zero time to think. Before the shattered statue can recover, he must end this now. He springs off the floor, slashing with his axe. The guardian's arm is severed, crashing heavily to the ground, and Jaiu lands right behind it. Scanning the wreckage, he sees the giant's eyes glow red one last time before fading completely. He successfully stopped the trial, and just like that, donations flood in from the viewers. He explains he could have stuck to his plan of just smashing the red orb, but shattering them worked just fine. He admits that it is taking way longer than expected. Why hasn't the portal spawned yet, then? Seok calls out to get his attention, leaving Jaiu to wonder what he wants. Seok asks if they can talk, but Jaiu notes he has already wasted too much time on the third floor. He needs to move fast and says they can talk another time. Just like that, Seok is left behind. On his way to the temple, Jaiu climbs the stairs and spots a scroll sitting on a table. He opens it, finding a story about people awaiting their doom, the cries of the starving and spirits of the fallen wandering the empire. It also tells of a mad emperor who rang the victory bell while decapitating his returning general. It adds a chilling warning. Any traveler who reads this must never anger the emperor. Jaiu doesn't quite get it yet, but it is definitely a hint. For the fifth floor, right on cue, the portal finally opens. He decides he will check his rewards before moving on to the next floor, receiving a gift right after. It is just a single coin pouch, though normal difficulty usually awards 3. He ends up pocketing 5,000 coins for the third floor. He admits he was worried with only one bag, but it turned out to be a solid payout. Currently, he has 201,138 followers and almost 6,000 coins, probably from Seok's chat. Plus, if the fifth floor has coins, there is more to learn about magic engineering. Turning around, he notices the populace have gone completely silent. Suddenly, they start trembling on the ground before they collapse right there, completely exhausted. He wonders if they are sick and asks his chat if anyone knows why they're acting like this. One viewer suggests they might just be hungry, but Jaiu doubts that. They just ate those turtle shells on the second floor. Still, to be safe, he opens his bag and offers them a mana stone, but the creatures shake their heads. No, clearly they are not hungry. A viewer named The Love donates 20 coins and tells him to head to the fifth floor first. Jaiu thanks them and considers the advice. He remembers there might be someone on the fifth floor who can check on his exhausted little companions. Standing up, he announces he is heading to the fourth floor right away, since they are not feeling well, until Seok calls out for him to wait. Completely out of breath from rushing up the stairs, Jaiu tells him he is in the middle of an emergency. Seok says he Knows he is probably being annoying, but he still really wanted to thank him. Especially since he made it through completely unharmed, he sincerely. Thanks Jaiu for everything. Taken aback, Jaiu coughs a bit and tells him to relax, promising to help whenever he can. Siak lights up. Hearing those words, with that settled, Jaiu heads toward the portal, thinking they will probably cross paths on stream again. Inside the room, he has a 6-day time limit, trapped inside a temple sealed by a rune, Jaiu thinks. Calling it trapped is an understatement. Anyone would surely die here, even if they can buy food with coins. There is a limit to how long they can last. He walks up to the wall, guessing there must be hundreds of crystals here on hard difficulty, and decides to check the shop items first, the shop inventory. Just depending on the floor level. Unlike previous floors, the items on the fourth floor offers food instead of weapons and armor he doesn't really need any gear right now, so he decides to save his coins, especially since he's short on time anyway. He'd rather save up for later, plus his babies are sick. To clear the fourth floor, he must match the letters on the crystals to crack the hidden pattern and find the correct colors. The crystals change color whenever he touches them. That was the basic rule. Jaiu can't believe how much he struggled with this in the past. He reaches out and taps one of the crystals. Each one displays symbols representing a different sequence of colors. At first, it was a major headache trying to memorize all these strange characters he'd never seen or heard of before, so the method he created was simply replacing every single letter with a number instead. Things are definitely going to start getting tougher from here on out. The real annoying part about the fourth floor is that even crystals he didn't touch can randomly change color. To him, though, it's basically just a giant Rubik's Cube. He quickly taps through them one by one. Juju looks up. Just like that, all the crystals finally light up. The first phase is complete, and everything's going just as he remembered. At this rate, he can wrap the whole floor up in an hour, so he keeps blasting through the rest. As the timer ticks down, the chat calls him crazy, saying he needs to finish up soon. Juju lets out a sigh right after. Then nearly all the buttons turn blue. That was the last one. The portal to the fifth floor opens up. Dan's 1, 2, 3 jokes that he could probably take the Korean SATs in 20 minutes at this rate. Jaiu thanks them for the support, saying he's really not that much of a genius. The chat congratulates him on a job well done. Juju thanks everyone and says he is going to check his rewards. He picks up another pouch of coins. Now that he has 10,000 coins, he can finally grab that hero tier skill book. His poise aren't looking so hot, so he needs to hurry. He decides it's time to head to the fifth floor. He set a fast time, but he tells himself not to rush. He must prove he's unmatched on the fifth floor. The fifth floor trial is about to begin. From this point on, viewers can't transfer out, and he is given a 1-week time limit. He'll be possessing a key figure in the ruined world of Astrode, and there's another user who will also possess a figure. To pass, he either has to reach his designated ending or kill the other user. Inside a castle, Juju wakes up in a new body. He reads through a diary spanning 10 years of this body's life. The kid had asked for a magical beast for his birthday, but instead got slapped in the face, completely heartbroken by his father's cold gaze. Later, he built a secret basement in his room without his dad's knowledge. He offered a gold coin to Fordrick for helping him, but Fori refused it, promising to supply him with magic beasts in the future instead. He thought he'd finally sleep well that night. This was Kyle Du Titoprox, the second prince of the Astro Empire. The magic beast he was raising was eventually discovered by the Emperor and killed. He ended up earning the nickname the Executioner after attacking people while drunk on the streets. Jaiu then closes the book. His assigned goal is to become emperor, but he can't take the throne by force. He thinks to himself that this is asking way too much. Why did it have to be a prince who is so far down the line of succession? Things would have been way easier if he were just a simple magic engineer as planned. The fifth floor trial officially begins, and streaming restrictions instantly kick in. Once he enters, reality warps so that barely a minute ticks by outside while he braves the sixth floor. Viewers can safely leave. For the entire week during this fifth floor trial, we are looking at 2 very clear conditions: reach the designated ending or eliminate the other competitor. But if he speaks a single word of this, everyone gets wiped out. He warns his chat to stop bickering, threatening to ban them if they keep going at it. Right then, he spots a system window pop up. He has to choose his desired power, depending on What he selects, he will copy a specific user class. Choosing the highest stat means he will possess an influential figure in the Astro Empire. Choosing magic assigns him as one of the Empire's elite chief mages. Selecting magic engineering assigns him as a prestigious platinum engineer. Choosing physical strength assigns him as one of the elite Imperial Guards. There are also high-class non-combatants or the assassin path, but their stats are far lower than the main three classes, so barely any players select them. Jaiu figures it is an easy choice, preparing to select magic engineering, but the system forcefully locks him into magic beasts instead. It confirms the choice, permanently assigning him to that path. Jaiu screams at the system for magic engineering, but he is already falling right through the portal. He wonders why. On Earth, he got stuck with magic beasts. Still, we know it is not too late to plan out his next strategy. If the final goal is easy, he will just focus on it. Normally, a magic engineer completes their goal once they create an invention, but if it is too difficult, he can always just eliminate the other competitor. The first day of this 1E period is spent adjusting to the body, so reading the original owner's diary is his absolute top priority. Suddenly there is a knock at the door. He calls out to ask who is outside, instructing them to bring in Fordrick. He needs to figure out what Fordrick is plotting. After reading through the diary, the loyal servant walks in and asks if the prince summoned him to discuss the new beast. Fordrick says he figured as much and has prepared everything, mentioning that this particular specimen came from the north. With that, he wheels the cage inside and pulls off the heavy cloth covering it. Papua are famous for their vicious personalities, but because these were so quiet, capturing them was simple. Jaiu realizes he completely forgot about them, but wonders why they look so weak. Fordrick says he questioned the hunters, but they had no answers either. It seems they consumed too many magic stones, so he will keep a close eye on them. Then he addresses the prince again, asking why so much mana is radiating from his body and what happened during his month up north. Jaiu tells him nothing is wrong with his body, so he should not worry. Fordrick insists that is impossible. Normally, people explode from harboring this much mana. By sheer luck, it is not an immediate threat, but the mana has invaded his head. This means while he can stay calm automatically for now, if it worsens, he could collapse. Fordrick warns him that he might never be able to absorb mana again. Jaiu tells him he will keep that in mind. Fordrick accepts his answer and takes his leave, but before leaving, he warns him that the first prince is acting suspicious, so he needs to be careful. Jaiu thanks him for the concern, promising to handle the magic beasts down to the basement. He was Kylie's only real supporter, having previously served under his mother, Empress Praetsa, then retired as a knight when she passed away, becoming his personal aide instead. Anyway, it turns out those magic stones were keeping him calm. Under normal circumstances, facing that dragon turtle would have made him crap his pants. Regardless, he notices the prince's suspicious moves, realizing he must defeat him to claim the throne, just like the diary predicted. Suddenly, the wall begins to slide open, revealing a secret basement. He makes his way down the stairs towards a row of cages. A system screen flickers to life. Surprisingly, instead of being hostile, the beasts kept by Kyle seem thrilled to see their master. The pop will look up, and Jaiu promises to keep them here, since he has no clue what might happen. Outside, he apologizes to the creatures, explaining it is for their own safety. He wonders if purchasing a skill book would help them. The best thing about skill books is that no reading is required, since the knowledge transfers directly into the mind, making things effortless. A skill gets created with basic beast magic. Although it is not very useful for them, it is quite basic, but at least it did not cost much. Only one more destination remains. His rival likely selected the path of a knight or mage, with the head mages running research labs, while knight captains control their own training grounds. To secure those sweet rewards, he must limit the rival streamer's options. Elsewhere, another player is busy training with a sharp sword, slicing cleanly through a training dummy over and over again, laughing aloud at how wild this whole experience feels. His name is Lee J. Armed with just a few skill books, he feels like he has trained for decades. His master level rises simply by moving around. He strikes gold because selecting high difficulty on the very first floor showered him with endless donations. On floor 2, his kendo skills easily cleared out the monsters. Up on floor 3, he used another player as a Meet Shield to speedrun. He expected the audience to flame him for it. But it actually gained him more stocks, although he barely cleared. Floor 4 with 30 minutes remaining, his chat alerts him that someone is approaching. They recognize him immediately, noting his outfit looks like the real deal. It is second Prince Kylie. His chat screams at him to kneel. So he bows, saying it is a great honor to meet the prince. Kylie tells him to rise, praising him for training so diligently for the empire's sake. Xian Yi replies that he is merely doing his duty, assuming any rival player would choose to be mage or knight. His assigned character is a sword grandmaster, the Black Lion who despises liars. Role-playing him was difficult initially, but he adapted by copying other players. He asks what brings his highness to a sweaty training ground. Kylie mentions he suddenly remembered his favorite drink. He remembers him weeping at the royal banquet because his beloved wine wasn't served. He wanted to deliver some as a gift, but since he doesn't drink himself, he cannot recall the name. Sanjay immediately begins to panic, begging his chat for a clue. He guesses a name like Pier Tile, hoping the prince buys into it. Kaylee says it sounds familiar and promises to send it tomorrow. Sanj thanks him, promising to work his hardest to serve the empire, but thinking about it, Kaylee realizes he forgot to ask something. He asks what his Korean name is. CJ backs away, convinced this guy is a total psychopath. He demands to know who he really is, but Cowie simply replies that he is exactly who he looks like. Sanj points out he didn't even bring an escort, asking why he's wandering around out here alone. He wonders how he knew since he tried his best to act completely natural, but Jaiu asks if he even needs to answer that. He remembers it's because the quiet prince wrote down every single thought in his private diary. Sanji asks what the chat said about him. The second prince is a talentless weakling he could defeat in a single strike. Jaiu says he sensed it right from the start, that shallow, vulgar attitude and the disgusting stench reeking off of him. Sanji draws his sword, warning him that he is about to die. Suddenly, Fori comes running over, demanding to know what on earth is happening. He asks if the prince is safe. He yells at the man, having just seen him point a blade at the prince. Jaiu tells him not to worry, claiming he only wanted to test the knight's skills. Fori insists he could smell pure bloodlust in that stance, but Jaiu only remembers telling the man to go all out. Jaiu warns CJ to be much more careful unless he wants to face charges for attempting to assassinate royalty, which would mean having his limbs tied up and torn apart by horses through the capital. Sanj quickly begs for forgiveness, for says he should go, but since the prince intervened for him, he won't press the matter. Terrified, Sanjay spins around and flees. Forik remarks that the man was acting incredibly strange, but Jaiu asks if it's simply because he was stalking him. He notes that the way Fori speaks reminds him of the past. Fori looks deeply saddened by this. He calls it a cruel question, since he remembers nothing before swearing his allegiance to Empress Pradessa. Kali says he understands, explaining he was merely strolling around out of pure boredom, urging Fori to dismiss it and go on his way. Forik agrees, but warns him of trouble if he runs into the first prince. With a final warning, he departs, leaving Jaiu completely alone. Jaiu wasted far more time than expected, realizing he must visit the magic engineering workshop tomorrow instead. He vows to secure his chosen ending, believing there has to be a path to victory. CJ grabs the documents he requested, feeling incredibly lucky. Just hours earlier, he was stressing over what to do, knowing that if a prince ordered his execution, it would be game over. Because of this, he heads to the administrative office for info on the second prince. Flipping through the file, he checks the inspection details listing the prince's beasts. Chat points out there were 3 Papua and only 1 handler, reminding him of the guy who was tending to them. CJ asks if his identity even matters, and Chat confirms it, urging him to head toward the outer gates for now. A chapel should be located there, so he needs to make his way over. Siaj realizes this plan only works if he uncovers his rival's identity first, which means he is completely doomed right now. 1 hour before all this chaos, COJ spotted Kylie walking by and smirking. Our hero mentions he heard Kaj was digging into him, and Kaj replies that he is pretty famous, calling him out by his real name, Kimju. Seeing how it shook the guy, Sajay knows he hit the mark. He bolts off into the distance, leaving Jaiu standing there completely confused. As he runs, he swears he will not lose his life here. He heads for the hidden piece on the 5th floor of the viewers told him about. Approaching the bushes, he knows that revealing the rival's name at the chapel allows him to clear the stage instantly. But clearing it early means losing the chance to level up skills through the failure penalty. Still, extra levels do not matter if he cannot even stay alive. CJ dips his hands into the water and kneels right before the statue. A system window pops up in front of him, testing his wisdom to state the name of the competitor taking the same test. CJ speaks our protagonist's name out loud. The system checks his details and asks him to confirm his answer, but suddenly a violent tremor shakes the chapel. His answer was wrong, and now he's about to be cursed by evil spirits, stripping away every single skill he ever learned. Saj collapses to the ground in utter shock, screaming out, desperately trying to figure out what went wrong. A little earlier, Ju was thinking how great it was that the guy was an idiot, and Chat immediately notices he has a secret ace up his sleeve. The moment he gets back to his room, Jaiu looks over at his backpack and quickly pulls something out. The entire Chat wonders how on earth he knew about this hidden piece. Jeju tears the ticket apart, allowing him to input a brand new name, and wait until you hear his choice, Kim Jaiu too, since he is the Grandmaster. He figures he will have to learn 5 skills from the first Sword Knights because Kaj failed the intelligence test. All of his skills are about to reset. Once a skill resets, players must buy those skill books all over again, and without rich sponsors supporting your stream, you will not stand a single chance of reaching the end. Nobody would be dumb enough to donate to an idiot like him anyway. He snaps at the chat, asking what their problem is. Since he was in a rush, naturally the chat keeps making fun of him. Suddenly, heavy footsteps echo right outside his door. He swings it open and demands to know what is happening. The guards say Lord Royan wants to speak with him. CJ asks if the prince has a minute, and our hero tells him to come right in. Once inside, CJ swings his sword while cursing him out, demanding to know who he really is. Our main character calmly says he already told him his identity, so the furious guy grabs a chair, hurls it at him, and yells at him to stop playing games. The main character sidesteps it with absolute ease. CJ draws his sword, growling that it was going to end like this anyway, and that they are going to see who drops dead first. Jaiu dodges effortlessly, wondering why the guy is so painfully slow. He grabs both of his wrists, pinning him down while CJ screams at him to let go. The stream chat is stunned, wondering how he is so good at fighting. Jaiu coldly warns him that he is still useful, which is why he is letting him live, so he should not mistake his mercy for fear. Then he violently shoves him away, telling him that if he understands, he better get the hell out. The beaten guy scrambles up and bolts. Jaiu figures he will not bother him anymore, so there is no need to push him too hard. After all, he can take his life whenever he wants. He flops onto his bed, realizing that if the current emperor survives, there won't be a successor, and even if he dies, the first prince holds all the cards, so his best move is focusing on magic engineering until only one single day remains, and then eliminate the rival streamer, though doing that means he must sacrifice the ultimate rewards. Looking back to Jaiu's first attempt, he was fully focused on training. He questioned if this massive axe was the right choice since it felt too heavy. Still, he promised to give it his all, utterly confused by what was happening. Meanwhile, the stream chat accused him of making excuses to dodge his training, but Jaiu quickly denied it. Suddenly he looked up at the sky. It was the 6th day, the fateful day of the trial. Juju wondered what the verdict would be and asked his viewers to share any details they knew. The chat urged him to go see the spectacle firsthand, since there were no rules against it. Juju overheard onlookers whispering about how brutal the scene was, wondering about the identity of the newcomer, who turned out to be the brave Black Wolf Grandmaster, Alec. Juju noted that it had been quite some time since they last met. Asking if something had occurred, Sean revealed that the Grand Imperial trial was about to begin. The protagonist shook his head, thoroughly baffled. As Sean explained, the second prince was arrested for allegedly assassinating the emperor. While it seemed plausible, it also felt like a massive waste of effort since there was never any real purpose for the second prince. Jaiu asked if this explained the massive gathering, and Sean confirmed that every member of the royal family had arrived. Hearing this, the protagonist immediately understood the gravity of the situation. Suddenly, a passerby brushed past him. It was none other than Forik, who seemed absolutely exhausted as he muttered an apology to Sir Alec. Staring at his pale face, Jaiu realized the man looked as though his life force was actively draining away. None of this added up. the suspicious emperor always kept elite guards hidden in every corner. Having his life snuffed out in a single night was incredibly bizarre. Furthermore, those personal guards were actually beasts, a weakling like the second prince couldn't have easily bypassed them. Regardless, they would soon uncover the truth during the trial. Meanwhile, the stream chat speculated that the first prince was the real culprit. Jaiu noted that given the scale of the scandal, the courtroom was packed. Chief mages, legendary grandmasters, high nobles, prestigious counts, and powerful figures sat waiting. Then a sharp bell chime instantly silenced the entire room. The presiding judge began by acknowledging that countless influential figures had gathered. However, he sternly reminded the crowd that the court of Astro delivers absolute equality, and any disruption would be heavily penalized. Seated in the lower ranks was Kane, acting as the representative for the common people. In the middle section sat Marquis Krauts. Alec caught himself picturing the noble completely bald, since the chat insisted he wore a cheap wig. In the highest tier, with the late emperor gone, Grand Duke Magnus took up the center position. The judge declared that the 3 designated jurors must uphold the sacred doctrines and swear to rule without bias. All 3 promptly confirmed. He added that before starting, the assembly had to recognize this hearing was expedited since the suspect was caught red-handed. Consequently, no official interrogation took place, leaving him without a confession. Thus, this session served only to document his formal statement. Jaiu wondered if this meant the prosecution did not even need to prove the crime. Right then, the judge orders the defendant to step up. Kyle slowly walks forward, trembling. Looking completely terrified, he stammers out his name for the court record. The judge declares that since the crime is already proven, there will be no questioning and no defense lawyer allowed. Cowie simply nods along, whispering yes, while the entire room mutters, wondering how someone like him could have pulled off such a crazy crime. The judge starts explaining how the tragedy allegedly went down. At 2 in the morning, he went to the emperor's quarters, requesting a private audience, and they spoke in the reception room for 30 minutes. The judge then turns to the witness, asking if that was incorrect. The reptile man says no, explaining that when all sounds suddenly stopped, the Imperial Knights got suspicious and burst through the door, and as soon as the door swung open, the emperor was collapsed on the floor, bleeding heavily, and standing right in front of him was none other than the second prince, Kaeli. Instantly, the entire audience bursts into loud murmurs over this shocking revelation. Kaeli stands there trembling, completely lost on what to do, anxiously clutching his own wrist in terror. The judge continues, stating that after investigating, dried lapla leaf powder was found in the tea the emperor favored, and the exact same powder was found on Kaeli's clothes. The judge then asks Kaeli if there is a single lie in everything stated so far. Looking utterly defeated, Kaeli softly mutters, "No." The judge announces that settles it, wrapping up the evidence. Hearing those words, the crowd erupts into furious shouting. Jaiu is completely stunned. Is this even a real trial? How could it end so fast? The entire setup is blatantly unfair. Then Magnus speaks up, saying they should stop this farce because the gods watching over Astro must be laughing at them. He demands they tie the prince to horses, dragging him across the empire as a public spectacle, calling it an apology to the gods. He asks the crowd if they agree with this punishment. The 3 counselors nod agreement, but Fori steps forward and objects, saying, "This makes no sense at all." Magnus barks back, demanding to know if he is questioning the trial's fairness. Forik argues that even for internal matters, the court completely rushed the trial, skipping proper procedure like they were being forced to rush. He tries to defend the second prince, but Magnus cuts him off, asking if he is somehow working with him too. He says there is nothing left to hear, ordering the guards to drag the criminal away. The guards drag him off, leaving Forik to collapse onto the bed. Everyone in the chat is losing their minds, asking what just happened to Jaiu. Meanwhile, Jaiu is left wondering what kind of insane world he is in. There is no way he is accept such a ridiculous farce. He vows to conquer this tower, head straight to Astro, and give those administrators a piece of his mind. Right after that, Jaiu wakes up back in the present. He realizes Kaeli's trial was what he just saw in his dream. His past self in the recording was furious over how rigged the verdict was, and now he has made up his mind. He thinks he spots a great opening. Here, Jaiu starts reading through the records on the beastmen. He learns that The Emperor was actually the reason Kylie loved magical beasts, but with no possible way to contact Kylie directly, he will have to solve things on his own. With no way to contact Kylie directly, he must figure things out alone. He flips through the diary page by page, but the more he reads, the more confused he gets. He complains the entries are too short and decides to get some answers. He decides to ask for who walks through the door right then. Jaiu notices him enter. He watches him enter, telling for he has a question before bringing up the time he begged for a magical beast as a kid and got slapped by his father. Asking Forik if he remembers him crying, for claims he remembers every single detail. In his surprise, Jaiu is bringing it up now. Jaiu remembers asking why his father got so angry. The Emperor said he would figure it out but never explained. For explains it was unavoidable back then as a flashback begins. They travel to see the Emperor, and Jaiu finally understands why everyone is so hostile. Frankly, it makes sense. The Emperor lost his mind after losing Praetsa, convinced someone was behind it, and trusting no one. Yet it proved he deeply loved his wife. It made no sense that he would hate the child she left behind. Forik repeats that back then. It was truly unavoidable because the magical beast he wanted for his birthday was far too dangerous for a young prince. Jaiu finally understands the truth. Back at the guard entrance, he tells his stream audience he must focus before heading inside. Turning off the chat, he begs them not to get angry, because they can catch up later. With the chat muted, he locks in fully, slipping into character as Kylie. Instead of the timid, gloomy prince, he will act entirely different to stun the Emperor himself. He confidently greets the knight, noting that he is working hard so early, and requests an audience with the Emperor. However, both guards inform him that is impossible at this hour, insisting there are no exceptions. Kylie notices the beastmen guards refusing to budge, so he raises his voice to demand an audience with his father. Loud noises suddenly echo from inside, and the doors swing open. The knight emerges, politely asking him to wait inside the reception room. As he enters the massive room, he keeps repeating to himself that his name is Kylie. He stands face to face with his father, Radiak, who finds it interesting that he came looking for him. Kai claims he simply wanted to see him, but his father questions since when he ever cared to. The prince replies that he has always felt this way. Radiak answers that words mean absolutely nothing without evidence behind them. Jeju states he knows. The Emperor stationed beastmen nearby because he was worried for him, adding that since he views it as a father's love, he will follow his lead. In reality, he only figured out the beastmen were there because the chat was talking about them. The Emperor smirks, letting out an arrogant laugh, and asks if that is truly all he has to say. Jaiu requests he dismiss the beastmen so they do not overhear. Radiak demands to know why he should comply, and the protagonist admits the truth is slightly embarrassing to say aloud. Heavy tension fills the room, yet the Emperor still orders his beastmen guards to step back. He commands him to speak up and deliver the real reason. Jaiu explains that while it is true that the rings control the beastmen, the one he is currently wearing is actually a fake. Radiak sits up straight, calling that an incredibly interesting claim, but he better have solid proof before throwing around an accusation like that. Jaiu clarifies that, to be exact, he knows who holds the real ring. He mentions how Prince Sloan was celebrated and praised 3 years ago for his heroic victory on the plains, and reminds him of the night the first prince accidentally spilled wine on his father while drunk. Radiak asks if he honestly expects to convince him with a simple paper. Kylie replies that that is only what is written down, and now he will explain the rest. He says that when the first prince wiped away the wine with a handkerchief, he slipped off the ring, swapping the genuine one with a fake he had hidden on him. His father scoffs, calling it pure speculation, and asks how he can possibly prove any of this. Juju silently tells himself there is no reason to get angry and says there is no need to prove it since he already knows and wanted to let him know too. The Emperor bursts out laughing, saying it has been a very long time since he last laughed like that. The protagonist silently guesses he has only a few days left to live. Radiak admits he had no clue his son knew about that too. He says that since he kept quiet for so long and chose to speak up now, he must want something, and Jaiu confirms it. He wants to become the next emperor. His father warns him there can only be one ruler in this grand empire. The protagonist calmly replies that he knows, which is why his father needs to die. Meanwhile, in another room, a man bursts out laughing while watching the young Prince's online stream. He calls him a crazy bastard, thinking this guy is truly something else. He admits he has been waiting for someone like him and donates 100 coins. User One Punch sends the donation along with a voice message, shouting out Juju's name and telling him to beat them up, which Jaiu thanks him for. He notes it must have been annoying having the chat turned off just to force them to donate to speak. Then he opens his eyes, announcing that it is time to grab some breakfast and unlock a few skills. As he heads over to the workshop, he gets excited, thinking he can finally master magic engineering. That is, until Sloan suddenly appears and demands to know what he is doing there. Flashing a smug smirk at his brother, Kaylee throws the exact question right back at him. Sloan complains that he is getting far too disrespectful, thinking their father must have given him some spare change. Meanwhile, Kaylee realizes Sloan probably caught wind of the rumors about controlling the beast race with a stolen ring and grew curious about what Kaylee discussed with the Emperor, so he came all this way just to find out. Kaylee casually mentions he went to see him at dawn, adding that it almost feels like someone tipped him off about it. Sloan scoffs, saying he used to hide behind servants and is now talking back to him, raising his hand to strike him. But Bran, the Imperial family's master craftsman, steps in and tells him to stop, demanding to know what all this racket is about in front of his workshop. Sloan tells him to mind his own business, but Bran fires back that since it is his shop, it is his business, and that the prince is the one being rude here. He points out he is not even the Emperor yet, so he should not be demanding respect, and if he does not like people being rude, he should not make a scene at someone else's place. Sloan grits his teeth in pure rage, muttering that he will not forget this. Humiliated, Sloan wondered how Bran dared to embarrass him right in front of Kaylee. Bran simply dismissed him, telling him to do whatever he wanted since he did not care, adding a grim warning that he would take that arrogant attitude straight to his grave. Sloan clenched his fists in fury, swearing to execute the blacksmith the very moment he crowned himself emperor, storming away in rage since the entire place was pissing him off. Kaylee thanked Bran for stepping in, but the craftsman said he just hated the racket ruining his peaceful afternoon. But when Kaylee tried to ask a favor, the master craftsman shut him down, saying if it was to assassinate the prince, he declined. Kaylee denied it, and Bran laughed, admitting that if he had asked a second time, he might have actually agreed, before ordering him to behave himself. If they wanted to look around, Jaiu quietly observed them, thinking they had at least left a decent impression. Stepping inside the messy workshop, the young man could immediately sense it was the real deal from the thick smell of grease, noting the complete chaos scattered everywhere. Suddenly, a glowing system notification popped up. Since he had entered a magic engineering facility, specialized skill books were now unlocked for purchase, leaving him wondering if his magic studies path triggered it. These cross-class skill books were incredibly expensive, yet just reading the titles immediately set the live chat stream abuzz. As he added them to his cart, the stream went wild, spamming him to refund his purchases and demanding why he was wasting points on a completely useless skill. Jaiu calmly warned them to shut up or face the ban hammer, then went ahead and used the magic book. A system alert confirmed he had unlocked basic magic engineering. All of a sudden, intense nausea hit him from absorbing 4 complex skills at once. Struggling to process the overwhelming flood of information, he understood that even with all this data, he could only copy basic methods for now since he was not building from scratch. He would just have to grind and level it up, and to achieve that, he needed to stick close to this busy workshop. Armed with a solid strategy, he decided to begin immediately and knocked firmly on the inner door. Bran asked what he wanted, and Jaiu replied that he wanted to ask for a small favor. The blacksmith grunted for him to enter, and Jaiu stepped inside, offering a polite greeting. Meanwhile, marching back through the castle corridors, Sloan brooded over the news of Kaylee meeting their royal father. He originally suspected his brother was plotting behind his back, but realized nothing had actually shifted. He scoffed, believing poor Kaylee should have remained locked inside his room because the only way he would ever see him crowned was 6 feet under. Even so, he kept wondering what Kaylee was trying to achieve in a place like that. In the first place, back inside, Jaiu asked to use the workshop, but Bran warned him that slacking off was forbidden. Magic engineering was serious business, but Jaiu insisted he knew the basics, and although it sounded arrogant, he actually understood advanced thermodynamics and mechanics. Bran found that intriguing. He filled his quill with ink and told him to wait a second, scribbling a complex diagram on a clean piece of parchment. He asked if he could solve it. After Jaiu confirmed he could, the blacksmith led him over to take a seat. He explained that this runic circle was widely used across the Latin Empire, and now he needed to decode it. Kylie silently noted that the design required a mineral used. He understands magic engineering steel and quickly identifies the three materials inside the circle. With that, he writes down his answers and finishes the exam in no time. But Bran grades it only half right, making Jaiu worry about workshop access. Luckily, Bran adds that even though his score was just 50%, his unique interpretation was highly impressive. The prince gets full workshop access. He can practice as much as he wants, provided he uses it wisely. After all, young royals rarely show any interest in complex magic engineering. Cowie begs for lessons. Bran promises to keep the annoying first prince away. This means Jaiu can finally study without any royal drama distracting him. He asks his live stream chat to be patient if things get slow. The week flies by in a blur of intense training and events. With only 1 day and 16 hours left, Forik suddenly bursts in. He panics, yelling that the Emperor has just been brutally crucified. Jaiu instantly freezes. The dreaded 5th day has officially arrived. Before Forik can investigate, shouting guards declare the second prince must face justice. Prince Kale Detoprox will face the law by divine will, leaving Forik stunned. As Forik demands an explanation, the court bailiff steps forward to announce the arrest of the Emperor's killer because of the extreme severity. They plan to interrogate the royal suspect without any mercy. Jaiu grimaces. The trial hasn't even begun, yet they're already labeling him a murderer. He is certain this crooked bailiff serves the first prince. The guards try to drag him away, but Forik demands they halt. He argues they cannot arrest a prince without proof, but it's useless. Soon they enter the same courtroom. The judge rings his bell and starts the identical speech. Jaiu realizes every word matches the video perfectly. It feels like an unavoidable, predetermined fate. Next, they order him to state his name. Scanning the hostile crowd, Jaiu finally understands how Cowie felt. The situation is dire. Almost every noble present sides with the first prince. He has been dragged to a hostile place where absolutely nobody is in his corner. Branded as a guilty man, he struggles to keep his composure and stop shaking. He desperately looks for an escape route, while Forik watches with clenched fists. His loyal ally is worried sick. Meanwhile, the secretary asks the same question. Jaiu understands the script now. The judge asks if the evidence is confirmed. The official confirms it. Jaiu finally sees this farce for what it is. A rigged trial meticulously designed to frame him and ruin his life. The judge points to him as the culprit, citing the official autopsy findings. They claim a deadly poison was slipped right into the Emperor's tea. Jaiu asks if he can speak. Hesitant, the judge allows him to proceed. The prince firmly declares to the courtroom that he did not kill his father. Magnus slams his fist, calling his plea pathetic and demanding solid proof. He warns the trial ends without proof. Jaiu admits he has no evidence. But he does have a witness, offering his own head if they lie. Magnus scoffs that they can hear this last wish before the final sentence. He orders the guards to bring in this mysterious fourth witness. Radiac bursts in, sprinting through the doors as the shocked crowd gasps in horror. Absolute utter shock. Everyone believed he was dead, but standing right in front of them was the Emperor himself, wearing his iconic necklace. Radiac scans the crowd. He remarks how wonderful it is to see everyone looking so healthy, noting they all seem to get along perfectly with Sloane during his year in power. Magnus stands there completely frozen. He simply cannot fathom what is happening. This man was supposed to be dead. Next, Radiac addresses the Grand Duke directly, noting he heard Magnus has been doing exceptionally well lately. Then he coldly asks since when he had to look up to speak with him. Magnus immediately bolts upright from his seat alongside the other nobles, rushing down the steps. They all drop to their knees, calling for His Majesty, begging him to lead them once more for the Empire's honor. Jaiu notices the Emperor is actually loving the attention, while the live chat goes wild over his entrance. Radiac points out that taxes have spiked dramatically across several regions. He glares down at Magnus, who is trembling on the floor, calling his actions utterly disappointing. Still, he orders the Grand Duke to stand, reminding him that everyone is watching. Magnus complies, and the chat agrees this is exactly what he deserved. The viewers begin debating who should actually claim the throne. Radiac says he is happy to deliver the verdict, and Magnus quickly agrees to accept. Whatever he decides, the Emperor notes the grim faces around him, admitting his dramatic entrance took a bit too long. Now it is time to start the trial for real. He commands Krauts to summarize the proceedings so far in just a few words. The nobles exchange panicked, nervous glances, utterly lost on what to do. Krauts deeply regrets ever helping Magnus, remembering how he begged the Duke to protect him. Back then, Magnus told him to relax and just trust his plan. He realizes he only played along out of pure, unadulterated greed. Krauts stammers that the trial was about, but the Emperor cuts him off, saying he has heard enough. Instead, he orders Cain to speak. Cain steps forward, explaining that the second prince was charged with regicide, and the defense was recently granted the right to call a witness. The Emperor steps in, officially declaring a verdict of not guilty. Not a single soul dares to object. Let's look over everything that happened while the Emperor was away. He notes Magnus has clearly committed multiple sins, announcing that from this moment on, Magnus is no longer judge blessed by the goddess Mir. He asks if he understands, and the man quietly nods yes. The Emperor smiles, saying that is good to hear, and now he will state his demands. First, he promised to run trials completely free of personal bias. He suddenly slaps Magnus across the face, reminding him he was told to handle the nobles and public opinion, which he completely failed to do. The other nobles stand in absolute, terrifying silence, trembling at the sound of the slaps. Radiac adds that third, Magnus allied with Sloane, acting like a common rat, feeding off his own empire. Magnus stammers that it is all misunderstanding, claiming he lay awake at night, worrying about citizens starving. Radiac shuts him down, asking why someone like that would sign and prove a document raising grain prices on 10 basic crops this year, sending it straight to Sloane. Magnus is completely stunned that Radiac knows this, and the Emperor tells him he does not hear a single ounce of true responsibility in. With those words, he summons the 4th and 5th masters, ordering that Magnus be treated as a top-tier criminal, dragged off like a dirty dog. Magnus screams that this is all a setup, but Radiac just nods to his men, signaling them to drag him away. Magnus keeps begging to stay as Radiac thinks. Back to that word conspiracy. Turns out he had already heard about this for days. Go in his private quarters, when Radiac asked Jaiu if he was seriously talking about risking his life, Jaiu confirmed it immediately, prompting the Emperor to tell him to go on. Jaiu admitted he was running out of patience watching his foolish older brother's antics. Radiac replied that he didn't see how this had anything to do with losing his life. The MC explained that if he actually died, his older brother would try to sweep everything under the rug. The Emperor then asked what the issue was with that. The MC replied that was far too childish and that he wanted to publicly humiliate him instead, blaming his brother for taking his life. Enforcing a trial, Radiac noted that it sounded like Cowie had a full plan to turn the entire situation to his advantage. Cowie smiled, placing his hand over his heart, claiming that he absolutely did. Back in the present, Radiac makes the exact same gesture, announcing that he is wrapping up this trial, ordering Kaeli to be freed, and demanding the first prince be locked up right now for attempting to assassinate the Emperor. As they drag him out, Sloane screams for them to release him, throwing tantrums with every single step he takes, whining about the same excuses over and over. Once brought to the defendant's stand, the chat notes that the mood has completely shifted. Sloane screams that this is all part of that bastard Kaeli's master plan. Radiac snaps, asking if he even recognizes him as his father right now, demanding to know why he shows absolutely no respect. Sloane quickly begs his majesty for forgiveness, glaring furiously at his brother, while Jaiu just sighs. Suddenly, a chat message pops up on his screen, the same viewer from earlier apologizes for criticizing him for choosing magic engineering. The MC just smirks and closes the window. Radiac then announces that the real trial will now begin, but stick with me. The MC cuts in to stop him, pointing out that he was in that defendant's chair just moments ago. If anyone is asking if he feels wronged, he absolutely does. The crowd whispers that something massive must be happening for him to interrupt the Emperor like that. Radiac just smiles and signals the prince to go ahead. Cowie thanks him, stating that he wants to personally prove Sloane's guilt while giving him a chance to defend himself. Exposing the true culprit once and for all, Radiac grants his permission. Everyone in the crowd is completely stunned. The MC thanks him, thinking to himself that if this were the former emperor, he would be dragged out. For being so arrogant, since this was all carefully pre-planned, he calls for the trial to officially begin. He turns to his brother, mockingly asking if his name is truly Sloan, instantly driving him mad. The MC then warns him that if he refuses to answer, under divine law, an immediate verdict will be delivered on the spot. Sloan clenches his fists and confirms his identity. Kylie then asks if Sloan actually tried to assassinate the emperor. The entire room goes dead. If Sloan actually tried to assassinate the emperor, the entire room goes dead. Silence fills the room. The MC starts to repeat the question, but Sloan slams his hand on the desk, furiously demanding to know what kind of joke this is. The host asks for solid proof to deny the charges, well aware that pushing a man like Sloan will make him snap right on cue. The arrogant prince bursts into a wild fit of laughter. He cackles hysterically, demanding to see the proof and mocking Kaylee's impression of the sovereign. Then he turns directly to his brother, asking if he wants the crown that desperately. Sloan claims he has no idea who attacked him, adding that if Kaylee grovels and begs for mercy right this second, he might actually show some pity, but Kaylee slaps his hand away, coldly reminding him they're standing in a court of law. He reflects that if he were still that same naive boy, he would have fallen for the trap and trusted his sibling. Now, he remembers a painful diary entry from his birthday. His father was cold, and young Kylie wanted nothing more than to please him. When he turned to his older brother for advice, Sloan smiled and claimed their father loved magical beasts, suggesting he present one as a gift. Instead, he received a brutal slap across the face. Fordrick comforted him, promising to figure out exactly what went wrong. Bitter memories continue to flood back. He realizes everything had been rigged to make him look like the guilty party. In his rage, Kaylee burned every magical beast with his own hands before fleeing to a filthy commoner bar where nobody would recognize him. There, he swore to secretly raise magical beasts once more, eventually picking a fight with dangerous hunters by hurling his glass at them. When Kaylee finally woke up from the brutal beating, Fordrick was watching over him. From that painful moment on, he refused to trust anyone else, deciding that loyal beasts were far superior to deceitful humans. Back in the courtroom, Jaiu glances at Sloan, declaring they will proceed with the hearing. Sloan arrogantly agrees to review the evidence and summon the beastmen to testify. The host calls the witness forward. Sloan confidently declares he will interrogate the knight himself, reaching quietly into his pocket and adjusting the ring on his finger. He demands to know who the knight saw at the party. Sloan relies on his mind control ring, confident that twisting their words is effortless and that Kaylee is about to seal his own doom. The beastman opens his mouth but points directly at the prince instead. Sloan is utterly stunned as the warrior swears by the holy blessing of Indian goddess of victory and his sacred knightly honor. Radiac asks Sloan why he looks so deeply troubled all of a sudden, wondering aloud if something is wrong. While his own ring begins to glow intensely, Sloan realizes the Emperor's genuine ring is completely overriding his instructions. Panicking, he ducks down to hide, but the ring slips right out of his handkerchief, rolling directly to the host, who retrieves it and notes that Sloan just delivered the ultimate proof, saving them the effort of a search. This seals his guilt as the mastermind behind the assassination attempt. The host raises the ring, noting its familiar appearance, and asks if His Majesty recognizes it. Radiac inspects the item and confirms he knows it well. It is identical to his own Beastman control ring. Crafted by the master artisan Bran, he calls it a cheap knockoff produced by some foolish apprentice who stole the blueprints, ordering Sloan to stop dragging his name through the mud. Jaiu then asks permission to deliver the verdict, and the Emperor gives him the green light. Sloan grits his teeth in pure fury, screaming that he won't stand for this and that this trial isn't even following legal procedure. He refuses to accept being judged by some arrogant bastard who has no right, cursing out the nobles for acting innocent after pocketing his bribe money. Jaiu thinks the guy has completely lost his mind, confessing to bribery out loud, but turns to address the crowd anyway. He asks if anyone in the room wants to defend Sloan. The entire hall falls dead silent. Kaylee steps up, stating that since nobody spoke, he will deliver the final verdict with the judge's permission. Knowing the outcome is already obvious, he orders guards to arrest Sloan. Immediately, but Jaiu interrupts, explaining that before they close the trial, he wants to deliver a personal message to the criminal, since he was falsely framed earlier. He wants to settle the score. His Majesty grants the request. Jaiu warns him that this is payback for how unfairly Sloan treated him in the past. Sloan stares back, completely caught off guard. The prince steps forward, winding up a massive slap, warning him that this will hurt. He coats his hand in mana and smacks Sloan straight across the face, declaring that first Sloan mocked the Empire's laws under God's will. He abused his royal title as prince for his own gain, which was deeply disappointing. Then Jaiu follows up with a heavy punch to his face, adding that for his selfish desires. He tried to assassinate their father. That isn't just disappointing, it is utterly disgusting. With his personal message delivered, he moves on to the actual verdict. The defendant committed crimes unfit for a prince. Every citizen must know of his sins, and he should be tied to horses and dragged across the entire nation. On top of that, they will present his crimes to the gods, seek forgiveness, and let the judge deliver an honorable decision. Jaiu feels like he is just one step away from achieving his goal. Radiac sees nothing wrong with the sentence and asks the rest of the court for their thoughts. Terrified, everyone agrees completely. With that, the emperor announces the final decree. The moment the trial ends, Sloan is to be tied to horses and dragged across the realm, and on top of that, they will sever his head and hang it from the highest point in every city for an entire month. Let this serve as a reminder that everyone is equal before imperial law. Sloan is dragged away, tears leaving the two behind. Radiac prepares to close the trial, but Kaeli calls out to him, asking to speak as the second prince instead of an investigator. Now that the trial is over, Radiac asks if it's related to the case, but Kaeli says no, though it is something that needs to be said. He apologizes for bringing up something unrelated to the trial, explaining that he is doing this because the very people who run the Empire every single day are gathered right here in this room. Radiac asks why any of that matters, but Jaiu says he will handle all the gods watching over Astro, asking for permission to become the Empire's son. He would deal with the gods and make a name for himself. This world, he was asking the ultimate power, the son of the Empire, to step down. Radiac cracks a smile, saying this is hilarious. His words aren't persuasive at all, making zero logical sense. Yet, for the first time, Radiac actually likes what he hears. He apologizes to everyone, saying he never expected things to go down like this. Then, he gives his final order as Emperor of Astro, officially granting the second prince, Kaeli du Topro, the title of Emperor of Astro. Jaiu thinks it is finally over, until everything turns gray. Time completely freezes. He looks down at his hand, which is starting to dissolve into thin air. Everything around him begins fading away, and he wonders if this is the test administrator. A system window pops up right in front of him, congratulating him on clearing the 5th floor. Jaiu asks if it is the administrator, and the system confirms it. He asks what it wants, and it offers to make him an administrator, asking if he will accept, repeating the same question over and over again. Surrounding him with system screens, Jaiu begins to panic, and the system warns that if he refuses, he will die. Yet he refuses instantly anyway. All the screens vanish immediately. The system asks if he is not afraid of the future, and Jaiu calls it out, asking if it was threatening to kill him. The administrator says it will wait on the 10th floor and asks if he wants to proceed to the 6th floor. Time unfreezes, and Jaiu is back as Kyle. Realizing what just happened, he sees the live chat saying the stream got disconnected. Radiac places a hand on his shoulder, saying this is what Kyle wanted, but he looks surprised and asks if he has something to say, calling him Emperor Kyle. Jaiu tells him he is sorry, and Radiac warns him to mean those apologies from now on, since he is no longer the ruler of this land, but just his son. Jaiu promises to be careful. Radiac declares today a day of celebration, meaning everyone needs to drink, so a day like this does not go to waste. As evening sets in the Empire's underground prison, Sloan realizes he does not stand a chance. Feeling like this makes no sense, he glances at COJ, asking if he was laughing, but COJ just grabs his face, thinking now is not the time for this. While his stream chat begs to wrap things up, COJ tells them to calm down until a system screen pops up stating that he failed the challenge. Other competitors finished first, and his opponent has already become emperor. Because of this failure, his body will be used to destroy the world. Jay completely panics. Meanwhile, Jay walks away while his chat buzzes about how insane this fifth floor was. The noble's bow congratulating his majesty. Jaiu wonders if the celebration is starting right. Now, having gotten permission from Radiac, he just wants to finish his business and get out of there. Shortly after, he arrives at a massive door, stepping into a room filled with paintings, leaving even his chat confused by his actions. Jaiu calmly walks over until he spots something that stops him dead. In his tracks, he notes that it seems he just had to make it here first. Back when he watched the videos, he used to cry talking about Kylie, promising that if he reached the fifth floor, he would remember to help, so he closes his eyes, telling himself that everyone is waiting and he must leave now. This world was not real, nor was he Kylie, but he hoped. Kylie is happily doing his own thing. He pulls open the door and meets the Emperor alongside the citizens of this world, with only 17 hours left on the clock. Kylie is completely drained from everything, begging for water, while the chat relentlessly roasts him. Meanwhile, Jaiu went way too hard partying last night and couldn't say no to any drinks offered, so he scrambles up to go throw up. He quickly cuts the stream, leaving a black screen for a few minutes. Jaiu realizes that was almost a total disaster, remembering that when blind mode is active, viewers can only see chat and the audio is completely muted. Everyone in chat is asking what they are doing, urging him to use his coins since they donated so many. Our main character realizes he completely forgot about that, all because of Bran's bets, but then he notices something strange. They have 16,500 coins, making him wonder how much they actually donated yesterday. Right then, a generous donor drops another 10,000 coins, congratulating him on doing such a great job. Juju is completely blown away by this, bowing deeply and promising to do his absolute best. He decides to explore a bit more before clearing the fifth floor. Standing outside a room, a voice tells him to enter. It's Radiac calling for his son. Jaiu thinks to himself that he can finally see him. Radiac tells him he should rest since there is still so much to do, but Jaiu says he must speak with him first. Radiac notices his expression, sensing he has something to say. Jaiu says it's nothing major, just a thought he had while writing in his diary. He remembers getting into trouble as a child for collecting magical creatures, and while it does not bother him now, he wants to know why his father got so furious back then. Radiac is surprised he still does not know the truth in that Forik never uttered a single word. He figures there is no reason to hide it anymore. He explains that back when he examined Jaiu's strange animal collection, he spotted signs of missing enkindled beasts mixed in among them. Jaiu gets it now, and Radiac adds that he was going to investigate since Jaiu had no experience handling magical beasts, but realized someone was setting him up and he likely already knows who it was. His feelings were mixed, but that was the true reason he exploded. He saw his mother in him, that naive way of letting evil manipulate him. He tells him if his curiosity is satisfied, he should leave because of his busy schedule. Jaiu agrees to head out, but right before leaving, he says he has one last thing to say. He calls out to his father once more, thanking him for raising and loving a terrible guy like Kaeli until the very end. Radiac lets out a heavy sigh. He covers his face with a book, muttering that his son has changed way too much since becoming emperor and that he will have to teach him a lesson. Meanwhile, Jaiu heads back to visit Bran, mentioning he put everything on hold just to come here. He says he doesn't need knightly mana powers because magic engineering is just that good. Bran is caught off guard, asking who this guy thinks he is. He cannot believe the son of the Empire stands in a place like this. Jaiu says he came to express his gratitude and asks about his health, but Bran tells him to drop the formalities. He mentions he was worried about Jaiu after losing their drinking bet, and Jaiu apologizes. Bran tells him he skips the pleasantries, guessing his guest is only there for those newly crafted gloves. Bran warns him that the gear is incredibly unstable, urging him to tread carefully. He has no clue where anyone would dare unleash something that lethal. Ju turns to head out, telling the inventor to stay safe and keep crafting masterpieces. Bran stands frozen, completely shocked that the Grand Emperor would actually bow to him. He mutters that any onlooker would assume they were parting ways forever. With a bundle of new gadgets in hand, Jeju departs, fully aware that once he conquers the fifth floor, this entire pocket world will simply vanish, and Kaeli's Defeat will revert to the original timeline. He only hopes his efforts actually mattered. Meanwhile, down on the third floor, a player named Baek Jin-ha grumbles about the brutal difficulty, desperately searching for the exit portal. He curses, realizing he is risking his life for this climb. Suddenly, an ancient scroll uncovers a legend. For the first time ever, a truly righteous leader emerged. He was wise, fearless, and honorable. The commoners adored him, and even the proud nobles offered unwavering loyalty. Grand festivals soon erupted throughout the entire territory. The record begs any future wanderer never to abuse the benevolent spirit of Astro's sovereign, signed by his loyal butler Forage, who always wears cheerful grin. Back in the palace, Ju walks down the corridor, deciding to check on those strange Papua creatures. He summons his butler, who appears instantly, asking if he was needed. Ju questions him about the bizarre behavior of the captive beasts, but the butler admits he is still clueless. Fortunately, there are no signs of aggression and everything appears peaceful for the moment. Ju dismisses him. Since things look quiet, the emperor decides to inspect the creatures in person. The tiny animals are resting peacefully inside their enclosure until they suddenly bolt awake. They erupt into excited chirps the instant he approaches. Ju promises to unlock their cage. Noting that his butler took excellent care of them, the beasts immediately lick his palms before leaping forward to wrap him in an incredibly affectionate embrace. As Ju caresses their fur, Chad comments on how they snarl whenever anyone else dares approach. Fiercely protective of their master, Ju tells his chat that he must complete his work and briefly pauses the live stream. He lets the little animals roam freely around the study, then takes a seat at his workbench. He recalls Bran's warning about how unstable, just like Bran warned, and how catastrophic a single slip could be. Repairing one component only compromises another, causing a never-ending cycle. Yet Reynold, the famous magic engineer he studied online, completely split the chronological timeline of this entire discipline. Ju knows he is far from being a transcendent genius like him, but quitting is not an option. With only 10 minutes remaining, Ju whispers that the task is nearly complete, hoping this makeshift fix holds up temporarily. As he channels his mana directly into the gauntlet, a brilliant light flares, generating an exceptionally intense energy output. Ju detects a slight activation delay, but it remains far more practical than anticipated. Right as the countdown hits 0, his broadcast resumes and live chat reconnects. Ju quickly apologizes, explaining that he lost track of time. With barely 5 seconds remaining in this world, he reverts back into his true physical shape. Shimmering portal materializes right inside his chamber, and as the clock strikes 0, the gateway to the 6th floor swings wide. Instantly, a massive wave of fresh spectators floods the live channel. Ju calmly announces he is restricting chat privileges to viewers with at least 12 hours watched. He watch closely as Jaiu shuts off chat for anyone with under 12 hours. He calms everyone down so they can check out the rewards first. A massive gift box falls from the sky, turning out to be the biggest one he has ever received. Viewers start spamming donations, forcing Jaiu to set a limit on them. He figures no one who just joined would drop 500 coins, but Luca immediately donates 1,000, begging him to unban his account. Jaiu completely ignores the plea and decides to unbox his reward. Finding a fresh set of clothes inside the box, he notes there is no way to check the item details, meaning they are probably just basic clothes. That is when he realizes the admin was taunting him on purpose. It was a clear message from the system admin, hinting he is the same Kim Juju from those videos. He shrugs it off, telling himself not to do anything stupid. Meanwhile, one of his boys tries to take a bite out of the shirt, only to end up disappointed when it realizes it is not a rock. Juju says he is opening the next reward. This time he pulls out a pair of heroic-grade Rotanto boots. He puts them on, still unable to figure out what the admin is planning. Now, there is a reason the chat is not hyped about a heroic item. It turns out these boots are notoriously hard to control, and the video version of Jaiu wonders just how bad they could really be right before he starts stumbling and losing his balance. He sighs, realizing he cannot figure out how to use them either and just has to watch the others. Instead, he focuses, taking control of his mana, morphing the boots into a pair of sneakers. He says everything is fine, thinking they are actually pretty comfortable despite their terrible reputation. He pulls one last thing out of the box, scoring an easy 5,000 coins. He was thinking about learning new skills, but with this much cash he can buy that item on the 10th floor. Moving on to the 6th floor, it was Going to be a teamwork challenge, knowing it will be annoying if the others see his poise. He opens his backpack so they can climb in, all the poise happily. Jump right inside. With everything ready, Jaiu decides it is time to go and opens the portal to the 6th floor. Once the 4th member enters, the 3rd trial is set to begin. The stage is the Forest of the Evil Spirit, and they must clear 5 waves of monsters. A knight starts explaining the challenge to the team until he notices our protagonist arriving. He asks if he is cold and invites him over to the campfire. Jaiu says he must be the last member and introduces himself. He spots a buff knight and a guy who looks like a mage, then notices a girl sitting alone in the corner. She snaps at him, asking what he is staring at, asking if it is his first time seeing a human being. Jaiu apologizes, saying he just thought her mask looked cool, though he already knew she had a blunt personality. The knight steps in, saying that whether they like each other or not, they must clear this trial together. Since they have a new teammate, he suggests they all introduce themselves. He goes first, saying he is Yunking Huck, 26 years old, working as a personal trainer. Overseas, he is a knight playing on hard difficulty. Next is Park Jin-soo, the mage, who says he will pull his weight but will not hold hands, so they should go their separate ways once it is over. Jaiu figures those two must have had some bad blood, and Hyuk tells the student to go next. Lee Sai steps up, saying she cannot share details, but she knows how to give and take a punch. Finally, the spotlight shifts to the last guy. Juju steps up, introducing himself as a former convenience store worker turned magic engineer. Hearing this, the entire party instantly panics. Hayek screams that magic engineers are completely useless in battle. He asks if his stream chat is trolling him, but Jaiu calmly responds that it was his personal decision, causing Hayek to completely lose his mind. Seiha tells him they can carry the team, calling the old man a massive worrywart. Hayek snaps that she is just naive, but Jaisu actually sides with Seiha, urging everyone to get a grip and draw up a clear battle plan. First, they must analyze their environment. A heavy mist creeps in, appearing normal at first glance, but feeling rock hard to the touch, like an actual solid wall. Since Hayek and C are frontliners, they take the lead. Ju will back them up with spells, while their magic engineer guards their flank, ready to act if anyone gets in trouble. Hayek reluctantly goes with the plan, for now still grumbling about not having another elite fighter on the squad. JJU silently notes that their panic is expected, considering how low-level players usually view magic engineers. Fortunately, there are no wild cards at play. He tracks the timer, counting down 7 seconds before the first wave begins. Suddenly, a dark silhouette materializes from the mist. Instantly, the chat senses danger. Hayek draws his blade, bracing himself for the fight. He asks if he should strike first, but the team urges caution. Both Jai-soo and Siho warn him that their viewers are spotting something deeply wrong, but Hayek boasts that he was the 5th floor's 6th grandmaster, brimming with unearned confidence. He claims that the first strike guarantees victory. Suddenly, a massive tentacle snatches the monster away. Hayek panics, shocked by how solid the target feels. The appendage whips forward with lightning speed, instantly disarming him of his blade and wrapping tightly around the old warrior the very next second. Hayek desperately begs for mercy, but the beast drags him directly to its face. Sai screams at the old man to fall back to the rear lines immediately. With his hand injured, the veteran kicks the monster with all his might. The creature retreats into the fog, while Hayek desperately begs for freedom, before collapsing heavily to the ground. When he finally looks up, a giant cockroach beast looms over him. Jaiu instantly recognizes them as cleaners, monsters belonging on the 6th floor. They might be the lowest rank in the demon district, but they easily match 25th floor monsters. This spells absolute slaughter for rookies who just arrived on the 6th floor. Despite this being a team challenge, he never expected the administrator to crank up the difficulty this much. Hyuk stares up in pure terror as the giant bug hovers over him. The insect shifts its head, gearing up for another strike and lunges straight at the man. He falls into total panic, convinced his life is over. Suddenly, a hand reaches out, grabbing the cockroach firmly by its horn. Sai looks up, letting out a heavy sigh behind her mask. The beast thrashes wildly, desperate to break free. The girl clenches her fist and unleashes a punch so powerful it shatters the monster's head, sending the massive carcass flying backward. She immediately complains that her clothes are totally ruined. Then she turns to the old man, asking if he has a death wish. She reminds him she told everyone to wait because things felt off, a weakling. Like him was just wasting time. She turns away, grumbling about how annoyed she is. Weak, useless adults like him, who do nothing but talk, are the absolute worst. Jaiu remembers from her videos that Sihao was already a famous. Awakened, the girl turns around to look at him, noticing his gauntlet and thinking about magic engineering. She shrugs it off, figuring he is also weak and boring. Still, something about him feels weirdly familiar. It is almost like she has seen him somewhere before. Juju goes over to check the cleaner's body. Relieved he did not have to step in, a viewer who tuned into her stream leaves a comment. The vibe in her chat is like proud parents watching their daughter, and Jaiu knows his own stream does not even come close to that. Jaisu asks what she did on the 5th floor, but Siha tells him it is none of his business. The chat claims Jaiu's stream is completely boring, and they start arguing over whether the cleaner counts as an arthropod. Meanwhile, Hack is completely broken, lying helpless on the ground. Jaiu asks if his wounds feel any better, and Hayek nods. Jaiu tells him to let him examine the injury. The guy reaches out his hand, while the chat mentions that viewers actually enjoyed watching him lose his fingers. Jaiu warns him that this is going to hurt a lot and activates his gauntlet. Hayek screams echo everywhere, but Jaiu tells him that while it hurts, at least he will not bleed out. Jaisu asks if he built that gauntlet using magic engineering himself, saying it must have been incredibly tough to build. Jaiu admits it was hard but not impossible. Sai watches them from a distance, thinking that all magic engineering is pretty much the same anyway. Jaisu points out that since she handled the fight so well earlier, she should lead the front line while he provides backup. They both notice that Hayek is completely traumatized. In his current state, he is going to be a liability instead of any real help. Right on cue, the second wave begins and 2 giant roaches emerge from the fog, charging straight toward them. Saya leaps into the air, ready for battle, and obliterates one of the roaches with a single punch. The other roach realizes what just happened, but before it can react, the girl rushes in again, slamming her fist right into its face and knocking it flat. As the chat goes wild with the second wave cleared, they have 30 minutes until the third one starts. Sai grumbles about her dirty clothes while Jaiu watches her, marveling at how easily she wiped out those cleaners alone. She definitely earned her title as a close combat prodigy for a reason. She was lucky enough to breeze all the way to the 4th floor thanks to donations, and back on the 5th floor while wandering the streets as a regular person, she met a reclusive master who awakened her potential. After that, her slim frame and incredible melee skills earned her a massive reputation, and Jaiu knew they belonged to the same generation. Jaisu points out that since there were 2 monsters, there will probably be 4 in the next wave, so the student must hold the front line and buy time for him to set up support. He was counting on them to finally do something. Soon enough, the next wave arrives. All 3 of them get ready for battle, but only 2 roaches actually show up. The girl wonders why. Seeing so few of them, she decides to just eliminate the ones right ahead. She charges straight at them first. Juju worries, sensing that something is terribly off. Ju asks if he feels it too, agreeing that the vibe is strange. Right then, the young man spots danger as a spike flies straight toward him. This third wave doesn't just have 2 monsters, 2 more are rushing up right behind. Jaisu screams for him to retreat while charging up a massive fireball. He unleashes the blast directly at the cleaner, but it does absolutely nothing. Panic sets in as his attack fails. Jaiu tells him to retreat and moves in. He leaps straight into the fray. Meanwhile, Seha battles the giant roaches up front. She wonders how the backline is holding up, just as she hears Jaisu scream. Spinning around, she is shocked to see 2 more enemies, leaving her completely vulnerable. The beast lunges instantly. Realizing she cannot block in time, she braces for impact. But instead of getting hit, dark blood suddenly splatters all over her face. A powerful fist has punched straight through the monster, and it drops to the floor. Jaiu asks if she is alright, knowing full well that mages are easy targets. Especially when facing cleaners for the first time, the roaches instantly target him next. They can fly in straight paths at extreme speeds, boasting incredibly tough outer shells. However, that straightforward charging attack is truly the only trick they have. He slams his fist directly into one creature's head, causing the other to retreat. The young warrior closes the distance instantly, executing the second beast with ease. He assumed Siha could handle the remaining 2 alone, but then he spots trouble. Seeing that she is about to be overwhelmed, he prepares to intervene. Using the explosive impact force of his boots, he launches forward with terrifying momentum. He arrives just in time, leaving Siha absolutely speechless by his incredible speed. She barely registered his movements. As the third wave ends, a tense silence falls. Jaiu silently prays she will just act like nothing happened, avoiding any direct eye contact. Resting near the campfire, he asks Jinsu if he possesses any more powerful magic. Jinsu apologizes, explaining that was indeed the absolute strongest spell in his arsenal. Furthermore, the magic engineer was moving faster than a seasoned knight. Hack offers reassurance. He promises they will succeed, though the others can only offer doubtful, awkward glances. As their brief respite quickly ticks away, Jaiu stands up to prepare. 8 cleaners are coming, which seems manageable, until a crucial detail is revealed. Jinsu points out that the monsters are attacking from both directions this time. They steel themselves for combat. Jaiu realizes the trial has escalated severely. The system is squaring the enemy count instead of merely doubling it. Dungeon clearly wants them dead. He immediately delivers a crushing punch to one. Seha swiftly executes another beast, while Hack runs for his life nearby. He flees from a pursuing roach. Finally, the grueling fourth wave is cleared. Exhausted and terrified, the group dreads the impending horror of Wave 5. 16 squared means a massive army of 256 cleaners. Jinsu panics, reporting that his viewers complained to the administrator without success. Despair triggers intense arguments. Jaiu stares at his gauntlet, plotting his move. This weapon is their sole hope. He stands up and orders the team. He barks at them to get down immediately if they want to survive. He channels immense magic power into his gauntlet, sending shockwaves that Sai immediately senses. He acts instantly, shoving the other 2 down before unleashing a massive energy blast thrown back by the brutal recoil. He quickly realizes it is almost too overwhelming to control, but he must end this in one single strike. He ramps up his devastating attack, completely vaporizing everything in sight. Jinsu cannot believe he wiped everyone out instantly, while Siha wonders who this mysterious powerhouse could be. Suddenly, Jaiu begins collapsing to the ground. He tosses the heavy gauntlet aside, immediately coughing up fresh blood. Jaiu realizes he unleashed far too much force, even with a magic stone inside the gauntlet. It was not enough, his mana completely drained. And he would have blacked out without his blessing. Either way, he just cleared. The 7th floor trial, the others quickly rush over, with Siha frantically calling out, asking if he is okay. Jinsu notes he overdid it. But Jaiu claims he is fine. She snaps back, asking how spitting blood is fine. Jaiu explains it is merely a side effect. Jinsu chimes in, telling her she does not need to worry. She quickly turns away, denying she even cares. Meanwhile, his chat goes absolutely wild, but the loyal veteran viewers shut them down. To defend his honor, Jaiu tells the group he is checking his rewards first. So they can go ahead, but we have to wonder why they are still lingering. After the fight, they should just part ways. Hayak tries to speak up about what just happened, but Siha interrupts, calling out to Jaiu. She suddenly takes off her mask, calling him a bizarre old guy for speaking to her. Demanding to know his real name, Jaiu asks why she even cares. She explains that her stream viewers claim his name does not even exist. That is when he remembers changing his actual username from what viewers are, saying both of their communities seem fiercely loyal, unlike Yongkang Hawks. He doubts many of them will migrate over to his own channel anyway. But to mess with her, he tells her she just needs to add the number 2 to the end of his name. Meanwhile, he disables the join alerts for new viewers. Hayak tries to warn him that his audience is bailing, but Jaiu simply places an entry restriction on his stream. He reasons that after locking out Hayek's audience, not many new viewers will remain, making those follower achievements harder to unlock. He shrugs it off, calling it no big deal since he had to clear the trial anyway. Hayak thanks his viewers for returning, promising to work harder while quietly realizing how close he came to losing everyone. Jinsu suggests they cannot just waste time standing around, so they should grab their rewards and leave. Everyone opens up their reward chests, leaving Jaiu as the last one to open his, thinking the difference will not be that noticeable with so many onlookers around, while Siha asks if they have met before. Suddenly, his chest drops to the floor with a massive thud, leaving everyone speechless. You and I might wonder if rewards are based on contribution. But the girl's loot is identical to theirs. Jaiu figured this would happen. Jaiu stares in awe at his completely unique box, leaving Hai to wonder if he really has to be that petty. Meanwhile, Jaiu opens his chest and reveals the gloves of Latanto. Jaiu figures if they are forcing this gear on him, he might as well wear them. Everyone is stunned to see Hirogra rank, even if it seems useless. The others move on to check their own reward chests, while Hai tries talking to him, asking if he can lift the entry restriction, but Jaiu replies that his original viewers would riot. Hai suspects Jaiu is just trying to steal his audience, assuming he wants to keep streaming for them. Suddenly, Jaiu exchanges his 5,000 coins, making all the chests vanish. The group thanks him, saying if they only knew the rewards were this good, they would have cleared the 5th floor as well. They hope to see him on the next floor. Hai merely shakes his head, walking right into the portal without uttering a single word. Jaiu notes that this was only their first encounter, and there is no telling what comes next. He waits to grab the gloves once they cool off before heading to the next floor, leaving his pack behind. But suddenly the bag pops open. The Papua open their eyes wide and leap out. Jaiu wonders if they mistake the gloves for a snack, quickly warning them that they cannot eat those. He holds them back, repeating that it is not food. All three begin begging. Sai asks what those creatures are, leaving him entirely speechless, but she takes one look, decides they are adorable, and becomes completely obsessed. Jaiu desperately tries to get her attention, and blushing, she stammers something about their past before turning toward the portal, reminding him their talk is not over yet. Jaiu wonders what that was even about. Realizing he has wasted too much time, he needs to reach the next floor immediately. He orders the creatures back inside, telling them to stop chewing on the gloves because they are leaving. The chat tries to warn him about the 7th floor but gets banned. Meanwhile, deep within the 7th floor, a mysterious man approaches a wall, muttering about psychological warfare, whispering that it is time to start. The moment Jaiu touches the portal, the teleportation process immediately begins. Exactly 2 people enter, meeting the required head count. Soon, a massive list of rules pops up, explaining the statue's armed hands until Jaiu spots someone standing nearby. The stranger gives him a freezing glare. Jaiu recognizes him instantly. In a video from his past life, the original Jai expressed sheer disbelief over this guy. The man tells him he will not hurt him, warning him to mind his own business. Jaiu asks why he would slaughter innocent people who have absolutely nothing to do with this trial. Avoiding the question, the man invites Jaiu to join him, making Jaiu shudder as he realizes exactly how dangerous this challenger truly is. The man casually asks for his name. Jaiu introduces himself and demands his return. He introduces himself as Han Gio. Jaiu questions his former occupation before entering the tower, but Gio notes he has not even checked the trial details. Before starting an interrogation, Jaiu silently realizes this guy is the #1 person he wanted to punch if they ever met, though it is a relief. He recognized him from the videos. He remains the worst possible opponent. He knows the 7th floor trial is a lie detector, a brutal mind game where players must catch your opponent in a lie or trick them with yours. With that, the rules of the trial begin to unfold. Jaiu asks if he came to the tower on his own or was dragged in randomly, but Jizuk tries to dodge the question. After Jaiu presses him, he finally admits he came here willingly. Jaiu thanks him for the answer, glancing at him sideways to make Hanji tell a lie. Jaiu realizes he must figure out the right questions to ask. Since he's already standing, the man tells him he's moving to the next square, and with that time finally runs out, the statue moves its arm, pointing straight at Jaiu, and tells him to ask a question within the 1-minute time limit. He asks Jaiu if he knew him before entering the tower. Jaiu clenches his fist, knowing it shouldn't matter since his initial reaction already gave it away. Jaiu says no, assuming Gio doesn't know either and will just deny it for now. But Gizio hits the button, calling it a lie. When the result appears, the creature's third eye flashes blue. It then orders Jaiu to ask a question. Within the time limit, he asks Jiok if he could take a life if a trial required it, and Gio says he could do it anytime. The creature's eyes stay closed. Jess picks up an orb next, asking Jai if he already knew about the 7th floor's trial. Jaiu snaps back, asking what kind of nonsense he's talking about, but Jess slams the button, declaring it a lie. Right after, the statue's eye opens. Jaiu wonders how much the guy managed to figure out in such a short time. his emotions flared up after seeing Jaiu, which might have given away too much. Plus, right when he entered the 7th floor, Jaiu might have noticed he didn't bother checking the details, so Jaiu asks, what if the person you had to kill was your wife? Jaiu says that makes no sense, but Jaiu pushes him, asking if he'd actually be willing to do it. The man tries to argue that he doesn't even know if he's married, but Jaiu tells him to just answer. Jaiu says he would never do something like that to his beloved wife. Jaiu immediately calls it out as a lie and slams the button, one of the statues. Eyes turn bright red. Jaiu asks Jaiu if he already knew he was married and had a wife. Jaiu confirms that he does. The statue doesn't react, proving it's the truth. Jaiu says it's his turn again. He asks what would happen if his wife entered the tower too and got in his way, if that would be enough of a reason to take her life, enough of a reason to slice her in half and throw her body in the street. Jaiu tells him he's taking this way too far. Jaiu asks again if he could really kill her. He realizes that while the statue judges lies based on facts, it also takes a person's mindset and true thoughts into account. Jaiu then claims he wouldn't be capable of doing it. Jaiu says that if it's real love, then obviously his answer is a lie. He places the stone down once more. After hearing the question, Jaiu must have naturally asked himself if he could actually do it, and Jaiu knows Jaiu is the exact kind of person who would. Checking the result, the statue opens its glowing red eye. Jaiu bursts out laughing and says, Jai is pretty entertaining. He then addresses Jaiu directly, confessing that, to be honest, this is actually his second time entering the tower. Hearing that makes Jaiu even more cautious. Jaiu says that's not true. Jaiu says he gets it and tells him he should stop risking his life. He then places the stone back in its spot. The entire room violently shakes as the trial evaluates his result. The statue raises its axe toward him, with all three of its eyes glowing red. We watch the demon prepare to pass judgment on the user. And Jaiu panics, completely bewildered by what just happened. Through a static-filled call, the administrator asks if he will accept the position, claiming he can make any of his wishes come true. But Jaiu already gave his answer. He is no longer the same guy from the videos. This test actually measures a person's true mindset, so if Jaiu had truly believed this was his second time climbing, Jaiu would have won, but that video version of him was not real. Now Jaiu starts shaking in pure fear. Suddenly, a tentacle lunges up and grabs him by his wrists. Jaiu writhes in sheer desperation as the massive statue begins moving directly toward him. Terrified, the man asks Jaiu who he really is. The MC only asks if that actually matters right now. Jaiu screams that it matters a lot to him. Jaiu admits he does not know. Recalling the past, he asks Jaiu why he is even climbing the tower to begin with. Is it truly just because he fears losing his life? The man denies this, claiming that life is simply boring and that he cannot feel anything anymore. Regardless, the protagonist calls him out by name, reminding him that he just murdered his own sister-in-law. Jaiu just scoffs, asking if he honestly thinks relationships matter inside this tower. Jaiu tells him that for what it is worth, they actually knew each other once, a long time ago. Suddenly, the statue rips his arm clean off. Jaiu honestly has no idea how this will end, or whether his wife, who enters the tower later, will find happiness or deeper heartbreak. Meanwhile, the towering statue continues tearing him apart. The chat begins discussing a monkey experiment, while Jaiu silently realizes that he has just erased a miserable future he knew was bound to happen. He lets out a sigh, looking back at the chat. With the floor officially cleared, the portal to the 8th floor finally opens. He decides to inspect his rewards first. The viewers begin begging him to let them speak, but the protagonist immediately shuts them down. He pulls his reward from the chest, receiving the rare Latanto Riskered. Spell nullification was easily a highly coveted skill to acquire. Jaiu notes that the color is slightly too bright, so he customizes its appearance to his own liking. As for the rest, he simply receives the standard batch of coins. Having claimed everything, he says it is time to advance. Once he reaches the new floor, the viewer limit vanishes. Jaiu complains about a headache and how exhausting it all was, but the system promptly orders him to eliminate all incoming enemies. He drops his backpack onto the grass and sits beneath a tree for a brief rest. With 1 minute left on the timer, the Papu start approaching him. Jaiu wonders if he is being surrounded. The tiny creatures leap directly at him, latching onto his lap, with the others quickly following suit. the chat grows jealous. Complaining about him hoarding all these adorable papu, Jaiu wonders if it is because he studied basic magic beasts or if they just like him. He can actually sense the papu emotions. These tiny creatures are simply thrilled to see him. Suddenly his backpack portal opens, and his original 3 pua begin. Smacking his back, clearly envious of the newcomers, Jaiu warns them that jumping on him so suddenly is dangerous. Observing that all 3 look upset, he wonders if they are actually jealous. Right then, notification pops up confirming he cleared the 9th floor, so he tells them to head down. Watching their faces twist in disbelief, he wonders if they were actually just jealous. This zone is a carbon copy of the 1st floor, and since the Papua shows no hostility, it counts as fulfilling the requirement to eliminate all enemies. Time to claim his rewards. He grabs a scroll floating out of the portal. Promising to check it out, suddenly the system announces that the life bleeding from the shattered world tree will inherit its spirit and rise once more. And just like that, the prompt fades. Finan is the legendary world tree, one of the core elements that twisted the fate of Astro. Once it started decaying, Astro was plunged into absolute chaos. Now, the 25th floor challenge is set in this warped realm, while ambitious climbers saw the tree's ruin as their golden opportunity to get stronger. Jaiu simply plops down for a quick snooze. Surprisingly, he manages to catch some peaceful sleep right next to the Papua. He quietly wishes he could doze off longer until he feels the Papua piled all over him. They quickly hop away the moment he sits up. He figures he got about an hour of rest and must leave. Immediately, the little popo cry out as he walks away, looking miserable and begging to tag along. Jaiu knows the world tree environment will be far too brutal for them, so he bids them to stay safe. He gives the adorable creatures a warm wave. Goodbye. Now on the 9th floor, once the objective is fully met, they must shatter the seal to escape. Jaiu sighs, realizing the administrator loves making things difficult. Suddenly, he catches sight of another climber standing right there and calls out. To his surprise, the girl mimics his greeting right back. She instantly asks if the creature resting on his head is a real popo, demanding to know how he found such an adorable thing. Shrugging it off, Jaiu focuses on completing the trial first, though he can't help but notice her sweet, expensive perfume. Blushing, the girl apologizes for her sudden outburst and politely asks for his name. Flattering him, she introduces herself as Hien, a name Jaiu immediately recognizes. She's actually way more famous by her nickname, the Witch, than her real name. She didn't even flinch at this brutal trial, completely obsessed with the Hopo. He knows countless men have been ruined after falling for her gorgeous smile. Jaiu skeptically asks if she can switch all 100 buttons by herself. She playfully boasts she can because she has plenty of devoted oppas helping her. Meanwhile, Jaiu has already memorized the sequence and could easily solo it like he did on the 4th floor, but drawing Jin Han's focus is the absolute last thing he wants, so he casually starts hitting the buttons one by one. But as time ticks by, he realizes something is off. It's been nearly 40 minutes. There is no way Jin Han is actually struggling with this. She has to be stalling on purpose. Quickly, he accelerates, hitting the buttons in rapid succession. He announces he will just clear her section 2, and she acts incredibly guilty, claiming she feels terrible, but the protagonist just powers through anyway. He firmly takes control and completely wraps the challenge up, clearing it with only 21 minutes remaining on the clock. She tells him to stop joking and hugs him, calling him absolutely crazy. Jaiu replies that this is not his true strength, and she should already know. In fact, he is positive she knows anyway. After all, if she wanted to, she wouldn't even need an hour to clear all 4 walls. Right on cue, a wicked smile spreads across her face. Flashing back to the past, he recalled asking how long it took her to clear the 5th floor. Han had claimed it took her under 30 minutes, calling it pure luck, but another player told her to stop lying, saying she did it in under 10 minutes. Back in the present, she suddenly bursts out laughing. She demands to know who this Kim Jaiu truly is, asking if this is actually his second run through the tower. Jaiu asks what she is talking about, pointing out that it is completely impossible. She agrees, but claims her newbie fanboys were suspicious and begged her to ask him. Jaiu tells her that even if it were his second time, she probably would have killed him by now. She admits she doubts that, but seeing how incredibly cautious he is, she wonders if he is a regressor or reincarnator. Her viewers bought replay pass and watched his stream on the 7th floor. She notes that he Seems to know far too much about the tower for a beginner, and even new. About that specific person, Jaiu warns himself that she is a notorious witch who hunts players down to the highest floor once she takes an interest. Dealing with her would be a nightmare, but if he plays his cards right, he might manage to avoid it. He tells her that if she is so curious, he will reveal the truth. But he expects something in return. Stepping closer, she asks what he wants. Jaiu turns his blushing face away, demanding she hand over the cloak she is currently wearing, proving he is completely serious about it. She warns him that if he is messing with her, she will not go easy on him. Then she begins stripping off her clothes right in front of him. She asks if he is done staring, and if he is satisfied while her stream chat goes wild, admiring her. Jaiu asks what her deal is. He literally just wanted the cloak, but that response completely sets her off. Turns out this is a highly valuable mana cloak. Now she demands he answer her question immediately. Jaiu tells her it is neither of those choices. He says he is simply someone who understands the layout of the tower better than anyone else. It is an unfair system where every detail about a streamer gets totally exposed, and without donations, climbing the tower is brutally difficult. Because of that, the audience formed a powerful, oppressive faction, leaving low-floor streamers with no choice but to beg if he slipped up like that guy on the 6th floor. Viewers who loved watching players get hurt or die would flood his broadcast. Jaiu reiterates that he simply knows everything about the tower. She asks if that includes intel on other players as well, but he tells her he gets to decide that. She notes that he completely skipped explaining how any of this is possible. Jaiu just smiles and says it is a secret, leaving the girl standing there. She suddenly bursts out laughing, cackling so loudly that she completely loses her poise. She admits that even though it is hard to comprehend, it is actually quite interesting. Plus, she likes men who keep secrets. Jaiu thinks to himself that anyone would mistake her for a witch at this point. He then tells her that if they are done chatting, he will be on his way. She insists he give her his real name, saying it cannot actually be Jai, but our protagonist just takes off running. Once he reaches the 10th floor area, he can finally turn off his stream. Now he can view broadcasts from players below the 10th floor, while users below the 20th floor cannot watch his. Jaiu apologizes to his viewers, saying he is going to explore first. He also tells his pop to hang back for a bit, since they would stand out far too much. His first move is to take a stroll through the city, and immediately he notices that something is deeply wrong. Young girl bumps into a nobleman, sending her crashing straight to the ground. The noble glares down at her with anger. Jaiu thinks it is tragic, but saving her life will be incredibly difficult. Suddenly, the aristocrat reaches a hand out. He gently pats her head, expressing relief that she is unhurt and warning her to stay alert in crowded areas. He tells her not to feel intimidated because nobles are no big deal. With enough talent, anyone can rise to the top of the Kle du Tropox empire. Jaiu wonders why an aristocrat is acting so warmly toward a mere commoner. Hearing about Emperor Kle confirms his suspicion that something has fundamentally changed. Over in a park, seagulls gather as they are fed in rapid succession. An old man sits at a table tossing feed until he suddenly stops, sensing a presence. It was the young streamer standing right in front of him. Jaiu asks to take a seat beside him, and the old man simply nods. Jaiu recalls meeting the tower administrator right here in his future videos and asks how long he has lived in this place. The old man replies that the memory has long since faded. Jaiu asks if he's happy, but the old man admits he doesn't know if he has any emotions left, tossing a bit of dirt into the water. In the future footage, he had asked Jaiu to succeed him as the next administrator, and Jaiu had chosen to accept. Suddenly, the box of bird feed slips and crashes to the pavement. The startled seagulls scatter, and the old man grips his hand with a sudden, tight force. Jaiu wonders what the administrator is planning, as those empty eyes lock onto him with a creepy, unsettling gaze. Suddenly, Jaiu is pulled into a vivid waking memory. He sees a warrior shouting to his troops, who dares look down on Taroa, as soldiers cheer fiercely. In response, Jaiu realizes this is the doomed city of Taroa, the 15th floor's trial ground, a historic fortress completely overrun by demonic monsters. Every beast here is so overwhelmingly powerful that average players cannot even scratch them, and their numbers are endless, yet each brave defender manages to hold back a few monsters. At first, the defensive line holds, but this is far from Over the 15th floor's trials are endless. High on the mountain peak sits a closed flower. Slowly, the petals unfurl, releasing an endless swarm of demonic monsters that pours out from its dark core. It was a nightmare designed to last until Taruha fell. But even after the city's collapse, the horror did not stop. The survivors kept pushing forward, charging to their deaths with absolutely zero chance of survival. They block the monster's claws only to get struck back twice as hard, falling one after another. The beasts swarm up the fortress walls as Jaiu watches. In sheer horror, suddenly a sound echoes from behind. A drooling monster with razor-sharp teeth looms right over him. Snapping back to reality, Jaiu collapses to the ground. The administrator smiles coldly, asking how it feels to witness his own fate. Jaiu snaps that mind games will not make him waver, but the administrator casually claims he was simply offering a glimpse of the future. Jaiu counters that he already rewrote the destiny shown to him before, and the old man knows it. He knew that better than anyone since he was watching. The administrator chuckles and says that's exactly why Jaiu should become an administrator too. Jaiu rejects it, saying he's nothing like that version of himself in those videos. The administrator asks if he even knows why those videos were sent to him in the first place. Jaiu admits he doesn't know, but he is still turning down the offer. He won't cave to threats, preferring to conquer these trials on his own. Administrator asks if he isn't even curious about the reasons behind those videos, offering to explain if he wants to hear. Jaiu tells him to go ahead, because knowing is always better than staying in the dark. The administrator releases a pigeon, asking Jai if he actually knows what an administrator really is. Jaiu says they manage the tower, but the old man asks if he truly believes this place was built just to entertain players. Jaiu shakes his head. If he thought the 5th floor was fake, he would not have acted like a real prince. The administrator points out there were other players who could have taken his place. Jaiu asks if there can be multiple administrators or if a new one just replaces the old. The old man replies there can only be one administrator at a time, because anyone who gave up the role ended up taking their own life. He built the tower, appointed new administrators, and set up the broadcast system. He tried everything, but every single time he patches this broken world, it just shatters again. He slams his foot onto the ground, sending a massive shockwave tearing through the area. He yells that whenever he plugs one hole, another opens. It is like pouring water into a bottomless pit. Just like the glove he crafted, he becomes visibly emotional right in front of Jaiu. He explains that an administrator is like a jar filled with water, but he has played this role for far too long. As his face begins to melt away, he admits he cannot even remember why he accepted the role at all, slowly transforming into a strange pigeon-headed creature. He says he is completely broken, feeling nothing toward humans, and the only thing remaining is his drive to keep filling the jar. Jaiu asks if all the previous administrators went mad like him, and the monster replies that anyone who takes the seat ends up feeling the exact same way. They all try to keep their jars filled with water, but they all fail. The water either spills over or the jar cracks under the pressure, but not him. He played his part better than anyone, holding Astro back so the jar never cracked or overflowed. Jaiu asks what that even means. The man says it is his future as an administrator, though technically it's his past, since he's the one who sent those videos. Jaiu asks why he did it, and the administrator replies that searching through someone's memories is like peering into their soul, and if he could have done it easily, he would not be so annoyed. Jaiu realizes that means his future self did it without even knowing why, but the man tells him it does not matter since every version of Kim Jaiu is the same anyway, so his curiosity should be mostly satisfied by now. Jaiu disagrees, saying his administrator self is completely different. Before asking one last question, he asks why the entire atmosphere on the floor changed so drastically after the 5th floor challenge. The administrator bursts out laughing. He says Jaiu performed better than anyone, matching the role perfectly. Surprisingly well, he adds that Kim Jaiu is someone who simply cannot change. Jaiu clenches his fists, realizing his own choices have ultimately changed Astro just like his future self did in those videos. Then he looks at the administrator, tells him to screw off, and flips him the bird. Meanwhile, inside a cozy room, a girl watches Jaiu stream from the previous floor. Kang Soha, known as Love, wonders who that girl was trying to hit on Jaiu out of nowhere. he needs to hurry up and start climbing again. Back with the administrator, Jaiu sarcastically asks if he expected him to just accept all this. The administrator replies that he is in no condition to talk right now before his body begins twisting. Violently, his shirt falls empty to the floor, revealing a single pigeon inside, which flies straight up into the air. Juju realizes it was not this administrator who sent the videos after all. He wonders why Kim Jaiu did it and how. He was doing so well as an administrator. To find answers, he just has to keep climbing the tower. Suddenly, the Papua appear and start licking him. Jaiu asks if they're trying to comfort him. He knows sitting around won't change anything. He still has more followers left than expected, but since viewers who peaked at the 10th floor cannot watch higher broadcasts, only 8 people are currently watching. Most of Sianya's viewers were 10th floor users who just wanted a slave to farm coins. Since they got booted, he decides to start streaming on the 10th floor, looking at big streamers like Hanok and Jin Haein. He knows exposing his channel to a massive audience right now could be dangerous, so he decides not to go on the main channel. He welcomes his viewers back, asking if they waited long. Jaiu explains he had to take care of some personal stuff and apologizes for muting his messages. Looking at a flood of notifications, Jaiu sees they're all friend requests or clan invites. Deciding there's no reason to deal with them right now, he tells chat that since it's his first time in the free zone, he'll handle a few things before heading to the 11th floor, thinking he should switch channels. There are 100 channels per country, and he's currently on channel 1, the only difference being which users enter. Jeju notes he doesn't have any useful Magitech items left, wondering if the workshop's value dropped. The chat starts talking casually with him. Eventually, Jaiu stops in front of Craig's workshop. The chat starts asking where Bran went, wondering if he was even there. Craig tells him he isn't taking item commissions right now. Jaiu says he's not here to order an item and asks if Bran is around. Craig replies that if he's looking for the Empire's best craftsman, he needs to go to the palace. Jaiu says he just needs to repair something, asking if he can borrow a workbench and some materials instead. Cray finds this pretty interesting. Cray introduces himself and Jaiu does the same. Cray remarks that travelers always have weird names while the chat makes fun of him. Then Cray asks him to show him the item. He points out that it was rushed and has an extremely dangerous magic power circuit. Still, he thinks it looks fun and tells Jaiu that once it's fixed, he'll need a magic stone to test if it works properly. Jaiu says he will go grab one. Starting from the 10th floor, there is an auction house tab in the community menu where players can buy and sell items, though they match the level of 10th floor users instead of just standard auctions. Though players can actually find things like magic stones here, the catch is that they cannot see the item stats, so they must rely on their own eyes to score something good. He wants to buy a bloodstone, but that is not something players can get just because they want to. Suddenly, someone comes up behind him, asking for a moment. He says that judging by his robe, Jaiu must be a mage. He calls over a girl named So Yang, completely ignoring Jaiu for a second. He then explains that since Jaiu is a mage and seems lost, he was just trying to help out, figuring Jai could not find what he was looking for in the free auction house. He warns him not to bother going in there anyway, saying he had 10,000 coins and still got turned away, thinking he can convince Jaiu to join them since they really need a mage. He asks why Jaiu does not just join his party, claiming that since they have cleared up to the 20th floor, they can easily carry him through the 11th. Jaiu realizes that makes sense. Starting from the 10th floor, every time players climb, they can return to the 10th floor's free zone, which is why higher level players recruit here. Jaiu tells them he is fine and just has some business to take care of, so Yang grabs his arm, telling him not to be like that, suggesting they go somewhere to talk. Juju pulls his arm away, repeating that he is fine and adding that he is not even a mage. The girl exaggerates, pretending he hurt her. The guy tells Jaiu there was no need to push her, but if he is so set on it, fine. Jeju realizes she reminded him of Haein, which made him react without thinking, so he apologizes for shoving her. He walks off, listening to the two of them grumble behind his back. The guy figures they do not need him anyway if he is not a mage. At the auction entrance, the guards tell the traveler to prove his worth. A prompt appears right in front of Jeju, so he decides to reveal his coin balance. The guard immediately welcomes him to the auction house. The other two are left completely stunned. Jeju just nods at them and heads right inside. at the reception desk. The clerk asks if this is his first time at Silanan. She tells him to fill out the form clearly so they can verify his identity. Jaiu hesitates for a second before writing. He puts the pen to paper while the chat laughs at him. He hands it over, saying he is done, and she says she will verify it real quick. She runs it through a device, but the paper flags an error showing an inconsistency. The receptionist looks confused by it. She asks the customer if he can double-check his details. He simply adds a 2 to the end of his name. She tells him the verification is complete, and since there is still time before the auction starts, he can wait in the lobby. She also asks him to leave his cloak with them and pull down his hood for security reasons. Nearby, people are talking about how Emperor Kaoli lowered tax rates for commoners. Jaiu thinks to himself that these NPCs are just having casual conversations, and no matter how often he sees it, he cannot get used to it. Suddenly, he notices something over by the crowd. He tells her it is nice to see her again. Sai asks what he is doing here. Jaiu says there is something he wants to buy. Then he asks for permission to sit down. A clerk tells them the event starts soon and asks if they want a drink, but Jaiu only wants water. Sai decides to get a cup of hot chocolate and the staff serves them. The two sit in silence for a moment until she finally speaks up, asking what he came to buy. Jaiu tells her he is after a magic stone for his glove. As she can see, Sai says she understands, and just like that, an awkward silence settles between them again. She thanks him for earlier, but Jaiu says he did it for his own sake too, so she shouldn't worry. She insists that even so, if it weren't for him, she would have failed. Jaiu then asks if she has a reason for constantly wearing that school uniform. She explains that these clothes hold precious memories. Jaiu says he understands and that it makes sense. Even in videos, she was always wearing her school uniform, and once she grows stronger on the 15th floor, she will gain power no one can ignore. It would not be a bad idea to get close to her before that, so he asks if she wants to be friends. A system window pops up before her. Jaiu adds that even if they aren't friends in a literal sense, he is proposing a partnership where they can call each other if they ever need help. She nods, accepting the friend request. After taking a sip of her chocolate, she asks why he approached the popo earlier. Jaiu tells her that is a secret worth a trade. Just then, an announcement declares the auction is about to begin, telling everyone who wants to participate to head inside. Siha gets up, complaining about how annoying it is, and walks away from him. Jaiu says he must go too, since he cannot be late. They head into the auction room. He starts looking around, listening to the crowd's idle chatter. Suddenly, a bell rings, and Raiden introduces himself as the host. He explains that this auction house is meant for royals and nobles to connect, regardless of social status, along with regular visitors, since God's mercy is fair to all. The rules are simple. He will state the starting price, and if no one outbids that, the item goes to the highest bidder. First up, they have a Redland dragon egg that arrived just yesterday. Jaiu thinks that since he learned about taming magical beasts, taming it would be easy, but traveling with it would be far too dangerous since it stands out too much. In the end, the egg sells for 6,000 coins. Raiden announces they are on the 8th item, and it is quite mysterious. This necklace was donated by a daughter of the Clay royal family. All they know is that it is precious and beautiful. Jaiu immediately bids 10,000 coins, thinking this must be the red blood gem he has been hunting for. Jaiu realizes it makes sense. The gem appraisers could not identify the materials because a bloodstone is not an actual gemstone. Raiden announces that bid increments start at 1,000 coins. Immediately, a woman raises her paddle and bids 11,000. He recognizes her as the esteemed Miss Gretel, the youngest daughter of a family running a magic stone business. He had heard she was not even interested in this stuff. That is until she winks right at him. Jaiu gets annoyed and jumps into the bidding, offering 12,000 coins for the necklace. After a heated bidding war, it hits 20,000, and he is asked if he wants to continue. He thinks even though that bloodstone is highly valuable, he loses nothing by letting it go. Grab it right away. Out of nowhere, Sai raises her paddle, bidding 21,000 coins. The two women plunge into a fierce bidding war. Finally, Raiden steps up to announce the winner of the auction. Sai takes it home with a massive bid of 30,000 coins. With that, the event wraps up, and Raiden thanks the crowd. Meanwhile, Jaiu thinks it is a real pity he missed the bloodstone, but at least he scored a Decent magic stone for 6,000 coins. On his way out, he spots Seha waiting. Near the exit, she grumbles that he took forever to get out, then hands him the necklace, telling him to just take it. Juju asks why she is offering this to him, but she just glares, asking what is with his face. She tells him she will not be asking for it back. She already knew it was a magic stone, since he started bidding despite having zero interest in any of the other stones. Besides, she says they are friends and friends give each other gifts. With that, she announces she is leaving, warning him not to pretend he does not recognize her next time they meet. Jaiu is left wondering why she is acting this way, questioning if she wants to be friends solely because of the final trial, but she never seemed like that type. He sighs, thinking she just wasted a small fortune on something she knows nothing about. Meanwhile, Sai stretches while walking out of the auction house, muttering that the old man has no clue about anything. She remembers being just a kid, wondering why on earth school uniforms had to be so expensive. Back then, opening the door to the orphanage director's office, she bumped straight into a young man leaving. Jaiu told her to behave and listen to the director, leaving her utterly confused about his identity. After he left, she knocked on the office door and stepped inside, explaining that she really needed to buy a new uniform but could not find a second-hand option. The director told her it was high time for a brand new one anyway, and not to worry about the price. That young man had donated money so the kids could get new uniforms for the upcoming semester, asking to keep it a secret out of shyness. Seiya had asked who he was, wondering if it was the person she just bumped into. Back in the present, she lets out a soft sigh and smiles, whispering that he never needs to know. Over at the forge, Cray asks why he returned so early since there is still a whole day left before the deadline. Jaiu replies that despite the time, the piece underway looks quite familiar, even if it has changed completely. Cray laughs, noting that craftsmen always rush to work on projects that captivate them the most. Jaiu admits he got lucky, adding that he never expected it to be nearly finished, but since the bloodstone ended up smaller than expected, he wanted to request some adjustments. Craig tells him not to fret about that, simply looking at the glove's design. He had already realized a magic stone belonged right in that spot, since any stone he chooses might vary in size. He decided to build a glove that adapts to fit them all. Showing him was easier than explaining, so he told him to watch. If he presses the button on the gauntlet like this, a slot for the stone opens right up. Once he inserts the magic stone, it locks securely into position, meaning he no longer has to worry about size and can swap them out whenever he wants. A simple double press swaps it. Jaiu figures he has nothing to worry about and immediately asks how much the custom work will cost him, but the blacksmith tells him not to worry about payment. Crafting it was enough fun. It will take about an hour to finish up, so he can just wait. Outside there, his chat suggests touring the 10th floor, but he instantly refuses, opening a portal to the 11th floor instead, saying he is heading straight there tomorrow. Later, while he sleeps in his room, one of the pop Huey wiggles out from under the blanket. It calls to him, but realizes he is fast asleep, so getting an idea, it transforms instantly and spits directly on Jaiju's face to wake him, quickly playing completely innocent. Right after, Jaiu asks if they are hungry and tells them he is going to start the stream first, wondering if anyone sleeps when 200 viewers instantly pop in. Since it is already 2:27, Jaiu figures they were just waiting for him to go live. He pulls a magic stone from his bags, leaving it for the pop Hua to eat before getting ready to head out. Chad asks if he has named the item yet. Jaiu looks down at his hand, thinking back to the moment when he received the finished glove. The blacksmith told him to try it on. Jaiu found it incredibly comfortable. Cray points out how much he seems to like it. Jaiu offers a commission payment, but the blacksmith turns him down, presenting just a single condition instead. He wants Jaiu to name the item. In that case, Jaiu promises to give it some thought. Back in the present, he flexes his gloved hand, knowing he needs to find a good name. There is no point in promising if he puts in no effort. The portal to the 11th floor looks like something is behind it, but it is blocked by an invisible wall. Besides, normal citizens cannot see it, only users can. Even though he switched to a different channel, tons of people are still around. Starting from the 11th floor, co-op challenges are common, so it is normal for players to form teams using the recruitment board. He thinks it would be Great to team up and get help from his stream viewers, but he has no idea what cheap tricks the administrator might pull next. He must tread carefully because forming a team and getting dragged into some rigged high difficulty floor would end terribly. Keeping that in mind, he opens the portal. Now he must choose a difficulty. Players who grew stronger and more confident on the 5th floor will likely crank it up, while those scared by toxic viewers will drop it, but he does not have to worry about any of that. He selects the hardest difficulty immediately and leaps right in, landing on a strange island where two people are locked in a heated argument. As Jaiu steps out of the portal, both of them quickly turn to stare. This trial requires a 3-man team to defeat a magical beast. Spotting his robe, the girl and figures he must be a mage, calling him over so they can discuss strategy. Jaiu notices they are a dual wielder and a lancer, making their excitement over a mage perfectly logical. Guy asks about his gauntlets, and Jaiu explains that despite the robe, he is actually a magic engineer, catching the man completely off guard. She warns him to take their situation seriously, asking how many support items he brought. When Jaiu admits he has only one, her face falls in disappointment. Jaiu knows they just need to get this over with, so they draw their weapons for battle. The guy prays they will not face 10 sea serpents, claiming he cannot handle that. Suddenly, a massive shape starts rising from the water. The girl curses, realizing their ultimate nightmare is unfolding. The guy groans, wishing he had stayed safe with his clan instead of facing a useless death here. Jaiu sees their sheer terror and grows suspicious. He wonders if the administrator is messing with things again, yet the water remains strangely calm. He mutters that this feels oddly familiar as glowing eyes loom just beneath the surface. A giant dragon turtle bursts from the water to strike. The duo screams in panic while the chat gets annoyed, thinking Jaiu was actually worried. Jaiu decides he should avoid drawing unwanted attention with his gauntlet, as it might shatter if he fails to control his strength. He tells them both to stand back and let him handle this alone. The guy asks what kind of madness that is, but seeing Jaiju's axe, his attitude completely shifts. The dragon turtle prepares to strike. Juju warns them again to stay back if they value their lives. The dragon turtle lunges straight for him. It rears its head after the strike, watching the other two flee in terror. Juju realizes that using those two as bait actually works out better for him. He surges mana through his body and takes off, running, circling around the dragon turtle's massive form. He pumps maximum power into his axe, striking the creature's rocky shell, but the blade completely shatters. Leaping high into the air with his blade, the dragon turtle lets out a massive roar. Jaiu realizes his weapon wasn't durable enough, so he pumps mana straight into his staff, the broken axe. Blade begins to shift, liquefying and flowing back onto his weapon. The dragon turtle readies for battle, shifting into its healing form. Jaiu realizes it cannot retreat into the water. If it submerges, they would have no way to follow it. He warns the others of the danger, telling them to stay back. He leaps straight onto the turtle's shell, noting that back on the 2nd floor he needed all his strength just to climb it, but now he can do it in a single jump. The dragon turtle turns toward him, thrashing wildly from side to side. Jaiu thinks this is a perfect spot, and its size makes it an easy target. Suddenly, the dragon turtle begins shaking. Jaiu notices its fury, realizing he must hurry up because even if he survives an explosion, those two definitely will not make it out alive. So he channels mana into the spike, tosses it skyward and dashes straight toward it. Leaping quickly, he lines up his shot with the spike. He recalls his only baseball experience is playing cheap arcade games, but he still hits the spike dead on, launching it straight into the turtle's exposed opening, triggering a massive explosion. Inside, Jaiu turns away as the blast erupts, looking back to see the dragon turtle completely defeated. He lets out a sigh of relief, admitting he pulls it off, changing his massive axe back to normal, while his gloves revert too. Meanwhile, the two players call out to get his attention, thanking him for saving their lives. They thought they were completely finished, so they are incredibly grateful. Jaiu tells them it was no big deal and that they should just head on. The guy insists on knowing his name to thank him properly, but Jaiu says it doesn't matter, telling them to keep moving. Honestly, he is just getting embarrassed because his stream chat is teasing him to death. Once they finally leave, he decides to check his rewards. The 11th floor was normal, but the 9th floor's Difficulty was adjusted by the system administrator. A reward box drops down from the sky, handing him a coin pouch, an inventory expansion, and some magic stones. Next, he opens the special ninth floor rewards, pulling out 5,000 coins. Like usual, until he spots a strange item sitting at the bottom, wondering why a piece of gear like that is even in there. He receives the Latanto cape. He throws it on immediately, noticing it is a bit too long, so he decides to adjust the fit, adding a handy hood to it. His stream chat raves about how cool it looks, but they wonder why another Lanto did not spawn on the 11th floor. Jaiu says he has no clue, but he will check the 11th floor one more time to find out. With that, he pulls up his hood. After taking down the dragon turtle with a single hit, he realizes that even after trying again, the dungeon difficulty stayed exactly the same. Plus, his new cloak is incredibly useful. Without revealing his name, he heads off to somewhere much quieter, going back to the park from earlier. He feels a bit anxious since he met the admin here, but this is still the quietest spot he knows. Suddenly, his backpack starts wiggling around, and all three cute Papua pop their heads out, hopping right off the bench to run around the area. Jaiu warns them not to wander off too far, a gentle smile spreading across his face. He decides it is finally time to name them. He has grown attached, and since there are three of them, calling them all Popo just won't work anymore. His chat starts tossing out name ideas, but they are absolutely terrible. He scrolls through the chat logs without much interest, focusing on magic beasts instead. There are plenty of skill books for them, and they are dirt cheap. He laughs, realizing he is spending money on unwanted skill books just to name his pets. The three purchased skill books hover toward him, flooding his mind with brand new knowledge. Skipping the actual reading is great, but the sudden dizziness of brain lag is a real pain. He turns his attention back to the three Papua. Thanks to his new skill, they feel completely different to him now. He gently pats one of them, then stands up, announcing his decision. This first one is Laha, because despite her massive appetite, she always makes sure the others eat first. This one is Koten, since he is brave and leads the pack to protect them. And the final one is Baron, the most cautious and quiet of the group. All three of them happily leap right into his arms. Then reality hits him. He realizes he is still streaming, which is pretty embarrassing, but now that they are named, it is time to tackle the 12th floor. Calling to Laha, Koten, and Baron, he asks them to hop back into his backpack, telling them he needs to avoid drawing attention until at least the 15th floor, so they must hang tight a bit longer. Maybe his new skill is talking, but locking them away in a bag just doesn't feel right anymore. Finally, the required player count for the floor is met. One guy notices him and says, "Looks like he's here." Jaiu chuckles, replying, "Looks like he was the last one to arrive." John introduces himself next. Jaiu introduces himself too, shaking his hand. Suddenly, John mentions he swore he heard a snake. Then Lee So-yun steps up, introducing herself with a tired sigh. Jaiu says he's looking forward to working together, and it turns out they already know each other. She mentions meeting on the 2nd floor, noting his outfit is pretty unique. Jaiu just laughs it off, saying he somehow ended up like this. Suddenly, he notices another guy staring right at him, wondering why he is staring. He asks what his problem is, and the guy asks if he really said his name was Jaiu. Jaiu confirms it, asking what the issue is. The guy suddenly asks if he is the emperor, completely catching Jaiu off guard. He instantly covers the guy's mouth, telling him to shut up and not say another word. He warns him not to kneel, telling him to act normal and hurry it up. The guy introduces himself as Young Sang-jun. Jaiu realizes he must be a viewer, which is surprising since only 8 people were kicked out when he reached the 10th floor. Meanwhile, So asks if the two of them know each other. Jaiu lies, saying they met on the 11th floor. She admits that is still better than everyone being complete strangers. John points out that Sang-jun is acting weird, mentioning how confident he was in his gear earlier, but now he seems super nervous. Sang-jun stammers he would never act cocky in front of his emperor, but Jaiu quickly tells him to cut it out. Instead, Jaiu changes the subject, asking if they used to be in a clan. They explain it wasn't a good fit for them, so they got annoyed and left. Jaiu asks if this is their first time on the 12th floor, and they both confirm it. He asks about their live streams, but John says they gave up streaming a while ago, barely getting any viewers anyway. Jaiu realizes they have basically checked out, and that getting info after leaving their clan must be tough. this floor is especially brutal for knights in melee classes, and since both of them are knights, it is going to be even harder. Jaiu asks Sang-jun what he was doing before coming to the 12th floor. Sang-jun says he was looking for a first-floor user to be his partner, but ended up finding an incredible rookie streamer instead. He hit it big after donating to him, and thanks to that money, he bought brand new gear, allowing him to reach the 12th floor, but now he is stuck. John cuts in saying they need to wrap up introductions since they only have 10 minutes left to plan their positions. Sang-jun gets defensive, asking how he dares order the emperor round, but Jaiu tells him it is fine, asking if Sang-jun has experience on this floor. When Sang-jun says he does, Jaiu decides to let him lead their battle strategy. John scoffs, saying anyone watching would think Sang-jun was Jaiju's military superior. He points out they are playing on super hard. Actually, Jaiu points out his specialized class is magic engineering. He sighs inwardly, knowing people always react this way to it. John immediately asks if he brought useful tools. Jaiu reveals he has just one, a combat support item that deploys a magic cannon to boost offensive power. John scoffs, telling him he should have picked a standard knight class. Instead of wasting time on weird builds, Sohun chimes in as an assassin, though this frozen terrain doesn't exactly favor her stealth skills. Interrupting them, Sang-jun demands to set their positions. He points to the map. Tracing the map, he commands their attention. He and John will hold the front. They will hold the line to block enemies. Jaiu will cover the middle flanks, while Sohun strikes from the rear, but then he issues a vital warning. He alerts them to something far more critical than simple battle formations. They cannot rely blindly on active skills since their foes are highly adaptable. Against these yetis and poison hounds, a single death teaches the whole pack. They will adapt instantly, rendering standard swordsmanship useless. John complains about this. He argues that makes no sense, demanding to know if they must ignore skills and fight with pure muscle instead. Sang-jun cuts him off, ending the debate. He tells John he will simply have to see the threat for himself. Jaiu senses their utter lack of teamwork. This raid is bound to get messy. Suddenly, Sang-jun leans in close to him. He whispers that he could easily solo this entire floor, but is choosing to hold back. This makes Jaiu worry that Sang-jun is merely showing off. However, the arrogant hunter insists that is not the case, though he drops the subject when Jaiu tells him to stop. With only 23 seconds left on the clock, Jaiu warns them to get ready. Time is running thin. Far off in the distance, a massive yeti stirs. It prepares for battle, rallying its pack with a terrifying roar. Hearing the battle cry, Sang-jun curses and orders everyone to take positions. Having struggled here before, he is visibly shaking. Jaiu tells him to stay calm before he gets hurt. He promises that nobody is going to die. As long as they play it safe, they will survive. John simply scoffs. He laughs, asking why they fear monsters that don't even carry weapons. He expected a real challenge like a dragon turtle. Sohun warns him of 16 beasts, including a 10-foot-tall boss monster. He must stay alert. John just shrugs. He shrugs it off, suggesting they split them. He claims the boss for himself. He then charges straight ahead, leaving Sang-jun screaming at their broken formation. That fool completely ruined their strategy. Watching this, Jaiu quietly realizes some people simply refuse to listen until they learn the hard way. If he steps in to save him now, the reckless guy will just die later. That is his choice. Meanwhile, the giant boss yeti raises its massive hand. It gnashes its teeth and roars furiously. Hearing it, John instantly freezes. He trembles with pure terror, suffocated by the intense pressure radiating from the approaching monster. The yeti towers over him, pointing its massive finger. The beast growls. Jaiu admits he cannot understand it, recognizing only a single word. These beasts are usually encountered past the 15th floor. As they age, their survival instincts turn into raw, savage power. Faced with bloodthirsty aggression, Ji-woon wonders if this beast is mocking him. Having charged straight at it, he knows backing down now makes him look like a coward. Especially in front of Seohun and the team. Gritting his teeth, he lunges forward once again. He attempts to thrust his spear into the yeti, but the beast effortlessly sidesteps the strike. Frustrated, Ji-woon grits his teeth and unleashes a heavy follow-up kick, but the yeti dodges that too. Ordinary strikes won't work. Knowing he needs more power, he channels raw energy directly into his spear. He scoffs at the warning that active skills are useless here, calling it pure nonsense. In his mind, skills are the only solution. He prepares his flash technique to blind the massive Yeti with a sudden burst of aura. It is a basic skill, but highly effective for setting up a surprise attack. The Yeti tightly shuts its eyes, leading Jiwoon to assume his brilliant aura worked. Boldly, he lunges forward to deliver his final blow, but the spear crashes harmlessly into the dirt. As he looks up, he begins to tremble in terror. The towering beast stands ready to retaliate. Raising a massive paw, the creature swings it violently downward, aiming straight for his head. Jiwoon opens his eyes, utterly shocked to find himself still breathing. Yeju had intervened just in time, parrying the heavy strike with his axe. He barks at Jiwoon to clear out, and the spearman scrambles backward immediately. Yeju readies his boots, realizing this powerhouse of a beast is dangerously strong. He must defeat it before it can read his movements, so he puts everything into his weapon. The colossal Yeti loses its footing for a split second, and Yeju instantly knows this is his chance. Seizing the opening, he pulls back his axe and charges forward, slicing through the giant creature with absolute ease. With the boss defeated, he turns around and flashes a casual smile, which completely unnerves them. He knows these monsters lose all morale once their leader falls, so he must wrap this up quickly. He easily takes down every last one of them, easily leaving the frozen battlefield completely decimated. Gateway to the 13th floor appears alongside the return portal to the 10th floor. Yeju thanks the party for their effort, and they eagerly thank him in return. Assuming he is an elite who cleared the 19th floor and returned, Seohan remarks that his calm demeanor finally makes perfect sense. Yeju simply plays along and casually agrees. Seeing him look slightly awkward, she apologizes for her foolish teammate causing so much trouble. Together, they walk toward the portal. Jiwoon asks if he knows what Sumeha means. Given his vast experience, it clearly weighed heavily on him. He explains he cannot forget that chilling glare, which felt like it was mocking him as a mere nuisance. Yeju recalls that Sumeha was the first word his future self encountered in those videos. He quietly explains that it simply means child. The beast was basically just calling him a kid. Then Yeju begins walking ahead. Seohan calls out that she is leaving too, suggesting they get food if they cross paths again. The live stream chat instantly spots the flirting, with viewers telling Yeju that he is far too busy and should ignore her. Meanwhile, Sangjun jokes that even women meeting him for the first time cannot resist his charm. He adds that a player stuck on the 10th floor should clear it quickly before people begin to mock him. As Sangjun turns to leave, Yeju asks if he has been watching him since the first floor, but he denies it. He claimed he was just curious how Jeju would beat the dragon turtle on the second floor, so he started watching there. Jeju thanks him anyway, knowing that for a player stuck on the 10th floor, constantly watching and donating coins was no easy task, but the supporter tells him not to worry, saying he actually made a profit thanks to him, wishing Jeju reaches the 100th floor to live a happy life. Jeju warns him not to say that, but suddenly things get weird. The fan happily hops away, imitating a boy all the way into the portal. Jeju is speechless while his chat realizes the guy actually watched him from the very first floor. Jeju decides to leave too after checking his clear rewards. He receives 1,000 coins, basic swordsmanship, and another backpack. He thinks they are pretty mediocre rewards, and learning a sword skill is pointless without engineering anyway. Either way, it is time to move on. He is not too disappointed, so he visits the 10th floor to switch channels before heading to the 13th. Meanwhile, elsewhere, a portal snaps open. A group is sitting around a campfire, and one hunter notes there is fresh meat around. They wonder why he ended up in an American channel. As Jeju steps out and greets them, a man asks if it is his first time on the 13th floor. Noting that based on his lip movements, he does not speak English, Jeju realizes that despite the auto-translation, lip movements remain distinct, showing the guy is surprisingly sharp. Kuttner introduces himself, joking about where he is from, north or south. Jeju shakes his hand, and Kuttner asks if he was streaming. Jeju says no, admitting he has 0 viewers and feels a bit embarrassed. Either way, Kuttner decides to introduce him around, but Jeju finds it's suspicious how easily Kuttner acts as their spokesman. Though he claims they just met, we can see they are definitely not strangers. The Black Scorpion is a trash guild known for playing dirty, entering 8